LaExcellence IAS Academy. ಭರವಸೆಯ ಬೆಳಕು.
So today's first topic is that study shows an impact of climate hazard on women and children. This topic is very much important because every year we get mains related questions. You have something in your paper one related to women, yes or no, Indian society, and time and again the questions have been explain the impact of globalization on Indian women, and there were questions regarding, like, for example, feminization of agriculture. Are you able to understand? So any topic related to women, either it can be related to her health, or it can be related to her social status, or it can be related to her economic well-being, anything which comes across in the newspaper, make a point that make sure that you actually take down whatever is given in the newspaper and try to make notes out of it, because one article or one essay is definitely going to be something related to the vulnerable section of the population. The most important topic of UPSC is either women or children. Are you able to understand? So now there was a recent study, and you need to understand that who is the agency, which is agency which is carrying on the study. The study was conducted by the Union Ministry of Women and Child Development. Suppose you come across any study which is done by not like any private agencies or NGOs, if it is like something related to the UN agencies or Indian apex agencies or the ministries or departments, it is mandatory for you to make sure that what are the contents of such a report or such a study, and after having taken down that report, analyze how much of it is relevant. Okay, what are the issues, what are the areas which is concerning in that, and how you can relate this topic to different GS papers, including your case study paper 4. Understood? Okay, so first is an internal study is commissioned by Ministry of Women and Child Development. Again, I was not given, this is my notes, these are my notes, and yesterday I was informed, sir, we don't have the, usually you've been given the content is provided from the institute, right? I was not given that. So yesterday night again I got this information, right? Sir, please prepare your own notes. So in the hodgepodge I've prepared my own, but I believe that this is you'll be in a position to easily understand. Okay, ultimately it's not about what are the content we are going to read. It's all about how we are going to analyze whatever the content given in the newspaper. Okay, so first is that first question. So which is who has commenced this okay, so who has commenced this study? That is Ministry of Women and, I want you to please repeat, Ministry of Women and Child Development. What is the title? Title itself says the entire sentence. How does the climate change impact women and children across agroecological zones in India? Two things we need to remember. One is impact of what? Are we talking about impact of dowry, or impact of social segregation, or like lack of opportunities or gender discrimination? No, we're talking about impact of climate change on particular vulnerable, two vulnerable sections. Who are those? That is women and children. And in which region? In different agroecological zones. In different, see, this report can be, we can find this elaborate. Whatever is given in the newspaper, I've only taken down that, and a little bit of addition has been done. If you go further deep into it, they've spoken about different agroclimatic or agroecological zones. For example, the impact of climate change on women in Rajasthan region, or you talk about the impact of climate change on women and children in the semi-arid region, right? What is the impact in the mountainous region? So we have different zones. Especially we're focusing on the agroecological, means those zones where the agriculture can be carried out, right? So we know that larger part of India is like rain-fed, yes or no? So what is the impact of El Nino on failing monsoons last year, and how is it going to impact the women, especially with respect to her livelihood, her family's livelihood? And most importantly, we have witnessed huge number of heat waves which has been there in last year and this year also, and you've also witnessed in Bengaluru. Yes, the temperature was unusually high in the month of March and April. So there has been a sudden surge in the adverse climatic impact, right? And we have also witnessed certain people in Karnataka have also died due to the heat waves, and these were preferably women and children. Out of 5 deaths which have happened in, I think, in the last week or 15 days before, we have read a news about deaths happening in southern part of India because of heat waves, and the people who died are mostly women and children. Out of 5, 4 were women and children. And we have discussed about one article related to deaths happening from lightning, haven't we? Do you remember? Oh, okay, we were because I'm also teaching elsewhere, I'm just getting confused whether I've taught it here or elsewhere. Now, when it comes to like climate-related deaths, huge number of deaths happen because of lightning, not because of flooding and or because of droughts. This is some information you need to know. Okay, so what is the title of the study? That is, how does climate change impact women and children across the agroecological zones in India? A scoping study, right? And this is done by a research foundation. Ministry of Women and Child Development entrusted that a specialized agency should come and this agency should carry on the study. And that is done by whom? MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. And Mr. MS Swaminathan himself has addressed this. Okay, what are his observations? We're going to study about them. So which is the agency? Prelims point of view. Because we are preparing from both prelims and mains point, I have not had my lunch. So pardon if my if I'm not able to deliver with complete energy and zeal. Hopefully I have your support, because I thought I would get late and I had to come over. Okay, but hopefully my voice is audible. Okay, are you guys happy? Happy? That is a very pleasing sound to hear, that you guys are happy with your preparations. Don't be serious, ma'am. What's your name? Sangeeta. Where are you from? Eli, Bengaluru. Lalbag. Okay, fine. ಎಂಥ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪ್ಲೇಸಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಖುಷಿ ಖುಷಿಯಾಗಿದೆ. Okay, fine. Right? Okay, now regions. So women and children in which are the states? Bihar. I want you to please repeat the states, because the sort of questions which are coming in UPSC is really simple. Really simple. Why? Because you might have read about some article, and the nature of questions is so simple that sometimes you're prone to think and you'll get confused. By option, for example, recently a study was done by Ministry of Women and Child Development, and it was entrusted to one research foundation. Okay, they said that which among the following states are considered to be vulnerable to the women and children, right? So which states of India are considered to be vulnerable to women and children with respect to climate change? Options is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And suppose any one of the state may be missing, and you may be like, given example of northeastern states or Uttarakhand. If you end up making a mistake, then obviously you're going to lose 2.66, right? 2 for 1 positive and 0.66 for negative. So which are the states? Easy, you can remember. See, UP, Bihar, yes or no? So we have northern side, Uttar Pradesh. Hopefully you all know mapping. So we have Uttar Pradesh, then we have Bihar, then we have West Bengal is there. Yes, we have West Bengal. Next, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana, right? Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. Easy. Gujarat, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana, AP. No Odisha, no Karnataka, no Telangana. Telangana, no Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, larger part of Karnataka is in the rain shadow region, right? Yes or no? So that would is not coming under the research foundations. Or are you able to understand? Okay. So how many states are there? We have Bihar, Gujarat, UP, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, AP, West Bengal, Telangana are vulnerable to the climate change related disasters. So these are the states which are most prone to the climate related disasters. That can include droughts, that can include thunderstorms, lightning, or it can also include what? For example, heat waves. Done? Okay, the children who are exposed to the climate hazards are more likely to. So what is the impact of climate change on women and children? Let us talk with the first beneficiary, or the first target, that is children. So what is going to happen to the children? They are most likely to be stunted. Yes or no? What is meant by stunted? Age appropriate height, right? So, I'm a father of two kids. For every age, for 6 months, 1 year, the doctor is going to measure what is the height of a kid, what is the circumference of the head, what is the weight. Stunted means for your particular age, for 1 year or 6 months or 2 years, you're not grown up to a particular height. That is called a stunted, right? And in terms of BMI also, in terms of body weight. So this is underweight. What you're supposed to be, you're not that. So the children who are exposed to the climate hazards are more likely. More likely means there are evidences that they are definitely stunted. Do you believe? Yes, it is true. Second, they are underweight. And when they are underweight, when they are lacking nutrition, don't you think that they are more vulnerable to early pregnancy in the sense they get matured early? It doesn't mean that people are going to get them married early. Are you able to understand? See, a, a stunted child or a malnourished child is most likely to develop different sort of diseases. Okay, there will be vitamin deficiencies, and there will be, for example, when it comes to girls or adolescent girls, there will be, most of them are will be anemic. Anemic in the sense they're lacking iron content, and the situation with respect to this climate change may prone the adolescent girls to experience maturity in the early phase of their life. Can happen like 8 years, 9 years, which is usually 10 plus. Yes or no? And because of the climate change, the probability of them attaining this menses, right, can prepone. Okay, that is called as earlier pregnancy. It doesn't mean that we are going to get them married at 8 or 10 years. Are you able to understand? Wow. What are the things you need to remember? Stunted, underweight, and early pregnancies. Done for children. The study identifies climate and health hotspots. So, second thing, one is women and children are the most affected. Do you agree? Women and the children are most affected, and among the children, what are we facing? Stunting, underweight, and early pregnancies. Second, we have classified the vulnerability of these women and children in different states, right? And we have also given a place for that. We call them as hotspots. Have you heard of volcanic hotspots, biodiversity hotspots? Now, as per this report, we have climate hotspots and health hotspots. So, who have identified these hotspots? It is the research foundation, that is MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. And the hotspots, with respect to, we talk about climate hotspots, means we are talking about not the good hotspots, or the hotspots where this probability of health hazards affecting the women and children is more. So, for example, if I talk about seismic zones, category 5 seismic zones means there are high probability of seismic zones. In the same way, climate hotspot here doesn't mean that the rich biodiversity hotspots. Talking about the adverse impact. So, regions which are facing most amount of adverse impact affecting the women and children of a country, that are called as the climate hotspots and also health hotspots. So, these hotspots means the regions showing high concentration of health related problems. Done? Okay. Simple question. Recently, a study has been done by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, and one of the statement is that the study stipulates or categorizes India into different climate and health hotspots based on the vulnerability of women and children with respect to climate change. Is the statement correct? You want me to repeat the statement again? Okay. What do you want? Chocolate, coffee, tea, majige? Huh? Sorry? Yeah, you want me to repeat this question? You want chocolate? I was asking you, like, I feel that this is afternoon time, you had your lunch, the neurons are not that much active. So, what can I do to make your neurons active? Chocolate? Majge? Tea? You're asking, okay, repeat the question again. So, recently a study was done, okay, right? So, as per that study, India's first statement, women and children are most vulnerable to the climate related effects. Is the statement correct? Okay. The regions in India, we have already discussed about the states, are classified into climate hotspots and health hotspots based on the vulnerability of climate change, vulnerability to the climate change. Is the statement correct? Yes, both the statements are correct, right? So you need to remember the keyword climate hotspots and health hotspots. If a term comes in prelims, what is meant by health hotspots? These is nothing but these are the regions which are experiencing most of adverse impact related to climate change on the local population, preferably women and children. Done? Okay. Shall we move on? Right? So these hotspots, how are we going to classify? Classifying the regions based on the regions, whether the region is affected by floods or not. Obviously, the regions which are affected by floods are two regions. One is the flood basins. Yes or no? River flood basins. Second is coastal regions. Coastal inundation we can see because of cyclones and all, because of tsunami, they are most vulnerable. Yes or no? And for example, talk about Kosi or Damodar, which usually changes their course. And the people who are living on the floodplains are most vulnerable. And the people who are living on the banks of Brahmaputra River, because the basin itself is so big, and if it is like like southwest monsoon peak period, the flood basins are going to expand, right? So based on the impact of floods, cyclones, right? And that, sorry for the spelling mistake. So understand impact of floods, cyclones, and droughts, not that's all, droughts on the health of women and children. So ultimately, any sort of health climate related hazard, how is it going to impact the women and children? That is our objective, that is the focus of this study, because this is very much specific. It's not talking about the climate change per se, it's only about talking about the impact of such climate change related any disaster on particular two categories, that is women and children. Done? Shall we move on? Okay, the issue of the climate change impact on is under the research and is often overlooked in the policy formulation. This is something, these are the sort of hot potato topics for UPSC, because something which is very much ignored and something which is like never comes into the mind of people, like for example, care economy. Yes or no? Care economy is something. What is care economy? It is a contribution of mothers, sisters, and people who are taking care of families, right? And which is not monetized. So, but World Bank and other agencies also actually try to monetize this thing, because ultimately their contribution is most important and their work is tireless. Yes or no? They don't have any holidays or something, especially during COVID time. They had to bear the brunt. So this is something which is like focusing on gender sensitive issues, and something like social sensitive issues have to be taken care of. Something which is highly ignored, it becomes a topic of UPSC discussions. Are you able to understand? So something people would not even consider, this is very normal, who is going to think about this? So that sort of a topic is going to become the discussion or topic of UPSC. Are you able to understand? So therefore this article might be important. Now, vulnerability to heat waves. Okay, so first is vulnerability to the heat waves. There are, like, as I said, the categorization, health hotspots and climate hotspots. First is vulnerability to the heat waves. So document is submitted to whom? The research foundation have submitted the document to the ministry, and as far as their observation, one is the limitations in the states of the studies. Limitation include reliance on the secondary data sources. Why? See, the state government, or sorry, the ministry does not have credible information about how many people have died due to heat waves, because the people themselves will not be knowing about what is the cause of actual death. Yes or no? So in such a case, is it possible for the ministry to document the number of actual deaths happening because of this heat waves? It's not happening. One is, we are actually dependent on the secondary sources. Secondary sources means the ministry does not have a direct source. It is entrusting this work to some other agencies, and whatever the data is given by that agencies, the ministry is relying on that. Is it correct? Many times it may not be correct. Okay, first. Second, limited empirical insight into the health of women affected by the climate change. These are the drawbacks. So this is what the observation made by the research foundation, that while analyzing the number of deaths or the impact of climate change on women, you are mostly depending on what data? Secondary data. Is it correct? No. Second, and actual empirical means what? Present empirical insight into the health of women affected by climate change is not properly available. Therefore, we have limitations. Okay. Third, relatively less attention has been paid to this area of inquiry, particularly in India. Yes or no? In India, even mental health is also not considered as a serious health related issue. Do we really consider that? And you talk about the rural poor, lifestyle diseases, obesity, they won't face obesity or something like BP or like diabetes. People won't worry about that. And when it comes to urban, even in urban area, and when it comes to like aspirants like you might be going through a lot of ups and downs, psychological ups and downs during your preparation. Yes or no? And how many of you would have considered that after probably you fail one exam or you have gone up to PT and you could not clear and you're not coming out of it because you've gone into depression and you yourself are not aware of it. Yes or no? This is not the same condition developed countries like US and Europe. There, any sort of mental disturbances is actually considered as a serious health problem, and due importance and interest is given to clear that. But when it comes to this, first of all, you don't have any you don't think much about women and the children. Second, if you're thinking about women and children, you're only talking about probably in terms of nutrition. But something related to health, something related to the climate change impact, no one is going to think about that. So therefore it is the least concerned or the least paid attention. Okay, so therefore the recommendation of the ministry should be, so these are the observations, these are the drawbacks. When you're writing mains answer, make sure that any points, if it is a 10 marker or 15 marker, be very specific. And you cannot write anything blah blah blah. You cannot write general answers. You have to write specific vis-a-vis what is being provided. Yes or no? So don't you think this becomes a content? This is a problem. This is a recommendation. Okay. So what is the recommendation? There are key gaps in evidences in order to understand the differential factors behind children's vulnerability to heat waves. There are key gaps at the world. Which are the gaps we have already discussed. Okay. So need to develop, therefore a systematic method has to be developed to measure children's exposure to heat waves. How? Under development. How we need to measure? We don't have as of now. So we need to develop such mechanism to ensure how can we calculate the impact of heat waves on children. And who is going to do that? Ministry. Obviously, we can't rely on ministry every time. We can talk about primary healthcare centers. Yes or no? And primary healthcare centers does not have actually any mechanism to document this sort of thing. And they need to be properly trained. Yes or no? If sufficient training is, we have discussed about Anganwadi workers. Yes, because we are focusing on improving the education system from 3 to 6 years. We are providing a dedicated training for the Anganwadi workers. In the same way, primary healthcare workers are, if they are provided with sufficient training as to identify cases related to dehydration or like heat waves impact, they would be able to document, record and submit to the government. Yes or no? Right? So, and need more focused, systematic and dedicated approach. Done? Okay. And excess death is caused due to heat are not recognized, and every state, city should make a heat action plan. Understood? So one is reporting is not done. Second, what is required? Every state should have to prepare a heat action plan, especially the states of North India, which are most vulnerable to the heat waves, like talking about Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, UP. In summer, it is really unbearable. Anyone been to North India or Delhi? We've been there for so many years, and we don't have a rainy season there. We have now we are experiencing pre-monsoon showers, and monsoons are going to soon hit Karnataka. There is nothing like that. Winter, ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅರೆ ಬೇಸಿಗೆ, ಬೇಸಿಗೆ ಕಡು ಬೇಸಿಗೆ, means summer, moderate summer, summer, extreme summer. That's it, right? So need to fix accountability. Are you able to understand? So what is required? Again, we're going to focus here. One is fill the gaps. So I'm going to give keywords. Ashmatra barkoli. Okay. So first is, what is the recommendation? One, with respect to, there is lack of understanding with respect to the impact of heat waves on children. Yes or no? First, you need to improve understanding. Second, fill the key gaps in understanding. Second, need a systematic approach to measuring the level of exposure of heat waves to the children and women, right? Understood? What is the second point? Systematic method to measure children's exposure to heat waves. Point number 2. Point number 3. Focused, systematic and dedicated approach. What is required? Focused, systematic and dedicated approach is required. How? Because if you don't have, like, suppose if you want to prepare for UPSC, I mean, you definitely are preparing, you should have a plan, right? You should have a focused plan that has to be systematic and that is based on every day's work, and you have to always have to register how much progress you have made or not. It has to be systematic, it has to be planned, and it has to be properly organized. Okay, next, excess deaths are not recognized. So heat related deaths are unrecognized. Heat related deaths are unrecognized. So what is important? The state should have a state action plan. The state should have what? State's heat action plan. So what is the point number 4? State's level heat action plan. What is the objective of this heat action plan? To tackle the effects of heat waves, right? Like in North India during summer, or like during winter, if it is like extreme cold, the government or the MCD, like we call it BBMP in Bengaluru, the Urban Development Authority, is going to construct shanties. It's going to construct some warm areas, and they'll be provided with blankets and heaters to support or help the people who are like homeless. Otherwise, they're going to freeze to death in the winters. In the same way, summers also they have certain areas where the people who are like homeless can cool off, and we can mitigate the effect of heat waves, right? But something is done by the ministry or like by the government, right? Okay. So next, need to fix accountability for those responsible for example, any industries which are involved in releasing huge amount of greenhouse gases. So as a part of their corporate social responsibility, we can advise or we can ask them to provide some facilities so that the effect of heat waves will be reduced. So fixing accountability. What is the 5th point? Fixing accountability for those responsible for coordination, right? Okay. And second, next is also make sure that such initiatives require investment as a part of CSR. I think the companies or the industries can do that. They can provide funding, yes or no? And how will the messages will be disseminated? For example, alert, SMS alert, or like phone call. We'll be able to do that. So that is something, probably if people are informed prior that in the next 24 hours there is going to be a surge of heat wave. So between these hours, please make sure that you take sufficient shelter. Like we give this alert during the solar eclipse and all. Yes or no? Right? We can do that definitely. And the initiative needs a multi-sectoral approach. Multi-sectoral approach means definitely not with one ministry. It should be involving the coordination with other ministries, for example, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, yes or no, and Ministry of Urban Development. So it requires a coordinated effort. Done? Okay. Context. Why the focus is on developing a, for example, state level heat action plan, or like the state or the government should do something to mitigate the effect of heat waves on the women and children. Why? Because it has actually come from some event which has happened recently, and where the focus is on giving guidelines to the states that please prepare some action plans to ensure that the women and the children are not affected by the heat waves. What was that? That is Women Lift Health Global Conference. Where was it held? It was held in Tanzania, which is the place? Dar es Salaam. So Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, there was a conference, and the objective of this conference was to make sure that the women and children should be protected from the climate related hazards. Focus point understood? Yes or no? And in that meeting, eminent personality, Mr. M.S. Swaminathan, said that what percentage of Indian districts are high risk of climate related hazards? 70%. So you can start your answer by saying that as per MS Swaminathan and in his address in the Women Lift Health Global Conference, he has said that up to 70% of Indian districts have high risk of climate related hazards. Yes or no? And ultimately, whom does it affect? The most vulnerable, obviously, women and children. So these are providing some statistics. Yes or no? So next, who women and children are going to be the victims, and as a impact of that, they will be like we have already witnessed with respect to the children, stunted, underweight, right? So apart from that, what are the other things? Undernutrition, teenage pregnancy means, so you can say talk about like teenage pregnancy does means that I think she is going to, the girls are going to reach the early puberty. Okay, so teenage pregnancies, domestic violence indicators, so are most in this hotspot. That is how it is actually shown in the hot. So in these hotspots, the women related or children related problems, for example, undernutrition is there, stunting is there, underweight is there, and early marriage and early pregnancies are also there, along with domestic violence. So these are the regions where it is called as hotspots. Understood? Understood. We have discussed about the hotspots earlier. Climate hotspots, you understand, effect of climate change. Apart from that, health hotspots does also include even domestic violence, right? Okay, so how many districts are vulnerable to the hydrometeorological disaster? Hydrometeorological disaster means heavy rainfall, floods, and cyclones. So how many districts? 183 districts. So in India, how many districts are vulnerable for the floods and cyclones? 183 districts. 70% of the districts are climate sensitive. 349 drought. You need to understand the trends. Numbers won't matter. Numbers won't matter. So largest number of districts in India are affected from droughts. Then comes your floods and cyclones. But with terms of death, the people, I mean, large number of people have died because of lightning. 17,000 people. You won't believe. 17,000 people. I mean, huge number. Until unless we don't read this newspaper, we won't be able to ascertain whether this information is correct or not. We might feel that people who have died because of flood and all are going to be more, but that is not the criteria, right? Please update yourself with all the credible information. So the study generated certain specific hotspots where there is high exposure of hydrometeorological hazards. Done. Okay, and these hazards coexisted with high problems of sea. These hotspots are situated in districts. Obviously, the district is a poor district. Okay, it is not socially and economically advanced. Okay, and the people are living there are poor and they have least understanding about this. So therefore, this region becomes highly vulnerable and hence the hotspots. Why? Because lack of information, ignorance, and lack of initiation taken by the government. I can understand. With only few hours of preparation, the class won't be that much effective. But I'm trying my best, even not having lunch, and try to make it as much interesting as possible. But somewhere we'll find that some logic link. Okay, so hopefully ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನಾದರೂ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ? ಅಷ್ಟಾದರೂ ಸಾಕು ನಮಗೆ. Our object is to make that out of 100%, 40-50% ಆದರೂ ಸಾಕು. Later on we can catch up. Once ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ we'll be in a position to easily draw down. Okay, next, so what is the way forward? What is way forward, right? So states like Bihar and Gujarat having coexistence of stunting and underweight children with the hotspots have low nutrition indicators and need immediate attention. So which are the states having low nutrition and hotspot is Gujarat, and we already discussed about the states, which Bihar and Gujarat. So they have stunting and underweight. Okay, so therefore it requires immediate attention. So next, northern parts of both states are also flood prone. Done? Okay. Next, the northern plains, it's not way forward, probably should have been something like observational. Right? So the northern plains of Uttar Pradesh have hotspots for stunting. So Bihar and Gujarat, underweight and stunting. And also northern part, because that is the Tarai region. You know, the foothills of, after foothills of Himalayas, there is Tarai region. Tarai region is marshy region, right? So where the river actually, have you heard of this Babar, Khadar, Bangar? Right? So Babar is the old living where the river actually disappears, and in the Tarai region it's going to research. In this Tarai region, these are the like marshy region swamps, like for example Kaziranga, Manas. Yes or no? So, and that is why the northern part of Bihar, they are flood prone. because of the Tarai region. Okay, so for northern part of Bihar is flood prone. Then we have northern plains of Uttar Pradesh have for stunting, right? Saharanpur district and all. Next, northern part of Maharashtra and South Madhya Pradesh are hotspots for underweight children. Southern part of India and coastal part of Odisha have high exposure to. So southern part of India is obviously talking about the coastal regions. So hydrometeorological hazards, but perform better in terms of child weight, stunting and underweight. So South Indian kids and the coastal kids of Odisha are okay with respect to underweight and stunting, but they are exposed to hydrometeorological related hazards. Done. Information. Was it useful? Not much useful. It is definitely useful. Okay. Right. Huh. So next article. So what is the gist of first article today? That climate related hazards are real and the impact is also real. The impact is in terms of underweight, stunting, right? And other hydrometeorological hazards are there. Problem here is that the government or the local bodies are not taking it seriously, and as a result of which we can see every year the climate related impact, it can extreme in the extreme, it can go up to death, as are not been taken care of. So now it is high time for the government and for the local bodies also to take care of the prepare some action plan. For example, EAT action plan, or like talk about the disaster action plan. And whenever necessary any disaster happens, necessary steps have to be taken to mitigate the impact of that. Okay. Next. So Central Empowered Committee report again to the Supreme Court. Geography related question. Geography related. Delhi is one of the most densely populated city in the world, not only in India. Yes or no? It is the most densely populated city, and this city is affected from lot of pollution. And once there was a question like, even though Delhi and Kolkata are in population almost equal, but Delhi is experiencing more amount of pollution than Kolkata. Why? Because Delhi is actually situated in such a zone where on in the upper troposphere it is cyclonic circulation, and in the lower troposphere it is anticyclonic circulation. That means, have you heard of this equatorial low, subtropical high? Delhi is situated in the subtropical high pressure, where from the surface, from the upper troposphere level, the winds are going to descend. So whatever the polluted gases or like dust particle which has been released in other regions, the tropical regions, they rise up, reach up to the upper part of troposphere and merge and descend at the Delhi, and therefore you can see huge amount of pollution. So therefore Delhi was in news at that point of time. Okay, this was the main question. Now again, another article is related to Delhi, and there was also one prelims question where like they talk about Aravalis. Which are the states sharing boundaries with Aravali Mountains? Aravali Mountains. So these are the oldest fold mountains in India, oldest, ancient, and in some sources actually say that the age is between 570 to 670 million years, but in this newspaper it is given as 1500 million years. ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಬೇಕಾ? ಹೋಗಿ ಬರ್ತೀರಾ? ಓ ಪಾಪ, ಹಂಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಫಾಲ್ಟ್. ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ತೊಗೊಂಬಂದು. Done? So focus. Right? There was one question one time. There was a question like, which are the states sharing boundaries with the Aravalis? So Aravalis start from Majnuka Tila and Delhi, near Delhi, southern part of Delhi. Right? From Delhi, it passes through Haryana. From Haryana, Rajasthan. Larger part of Aravalis are there in Rajasthan, and it goes up to Gujarat. Okay, so Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, and Delhi. These are the three states and one NCR are sharing boundaries with the Aravalis. Aravalis are very much important because it is actually part of natural watershed of India. We talk about watershed. Northern region, it is Himalayas. Yes or no? So either the what is watershed? Watershed is something like a basin. It forms a ridge. This is a ridge, and a rain, if it is falling here, right? And if the glaciers are formed here, so obviously the rivers are going to flow in this direction, and the rivers are going to flow in this direction. For example, this is Himalayas, right? Here is your Gangotri, Yamunotri. So therefore, the glaciers after melting, it flows through the central plains. Suppose if you talk about this Manasarovar or Kailash mountains, because that ridge separates the Brahmaputra and Ganga, and also the Indus. In the same way, Delhi Ridge is also important because many rivers, like the tributaries of Yamuna, Betwa, Sindh, Kane, Chambal, originate in this region, and also Luni and other rivers which are actually flowing towards the run of Kutch. This region is very much important geographically, and this ridge is having some amount of forest, tropical dry deciduous. The article is focusing on that there are whatever the forest is there, and because of this forest, Delhi is getting new leaves of, for example, fresh supply of oxygen, because forests are all obviously the lungs of the world, right? And without forest, what happens? Delhi is devoid of good breathing air. So, of lately, these forests which are like near near the Delhi and a part of Aravallis are being diverted, or like for the non-forest activities like tourism, for agriculture, for encroachments, the land or the forest land has been diverted. So Delhi is having only small source of oxygen, good air supply, oxygen supply, and if you're going to remove that, it is going to adversely affect the again city which is already suffering from heavy pollution, which is banning crackers every year, because I stayed there for almost like 3 4 years, and when Diwali happens, or in northern term it is Diwali, almost for 1 week or 15 days you won't, that smell doesn't go. After you have actually feel it, right? Suppose you're burning a cracker or something, you get some that smell that is actually there in the air atmosphere, and it won't go even for 15 20 days, and thick smog is created. Delhi is hugely affected from such sort of suspended particulate related and oxides of sulfur, nitrogen, huge amount of pollution is there. So in that context, this article becomes important. Done. So there is again a central empowered committee, right? Supreme Court has actually taken a suo motu action, and it has actually appointed a empowered committee to carry on the study and provide me with a report as to what is the status of the forest cover near the Delhi Ridge. Okay. Now this article talks about what is the observation of such committee and what is the report it submitted to the Honorable Supreme Court. Done? Easy? Better? Okay, fine. So Central Empowered Committee submitted a report to the Supreme Court. See, my objective, because see, one thing, again I'm confessing, I was not given the material, right? No fault of institute, but I usually read newspaper and I don't make notes. Only when it is necessary, I'll make notes. Okay. Second, for making extra, because this much of information may not be sufficient for you. It requires lot, but if we are able to make this much of information and the background for every article, we may not be able to complete it entire thing. So our objective in the classroom is to make sure that what are the content is given in the newspaper, how can we correlate to the generic or the GS portion of your mains. That is what we are focusing upon. Done. And second, these are the same points which are there in your newspaper. It can be in your Indian Express and Hindu newspaper. Only thing, you will understand how to make notes out of it and how to analyze using this information, and where can we apply in your paper 1, 2, 3, 4. That thing should come your mind in your mind. Okay, from prelims point of view and from your mains point of view. Done. So first, how many hectares of Delhi Ridge has been encroached? First observation is that the important forest cover near the Delhi Ridge, you understand? So this is the starting point of Aravallis in the northern regions, which is covered with forest. What sort of forest? Tropical dry deciduous. This forest, almost how many hectares? It's not acres, hectares. There's a difference between hectares and acres, right? How many acres is equal to 1 hectare? Any idea? 2.47. 2.47 acres are equal to 1 hectare. Okay, so 308 hectares of ecological sensitive Delhi Ridge has been encroached, which constitutes how much? 5%. So entire 5% of the Delhi Ridge has been encroached. So anthropogenic activities are Yes or no? Ultimately, what is the cause of pollution? What is the cause of environmental disasters? It is human activities, right? So one human activity is encroachment, and 183 hectares have been diverted for non-forestry purpose. What is forest purpose? Planting of trees. Non-forestry purpose, it can be for tourism, it can be for recreation, it can be for fun city, or it can be for agriculture also. Yes or no? Right? So how much has the almost 5% for overall around like 380 hectares has been diverted. First point. Second, we need to understand the importance of Delhi Ridge, geographical importance. One, the ridge is the end of the ancient, because it is the northernmost part of the ancient Aravalli Hills, right? And it passes through how many states? See, this is something in the news, and some the questions will be like related to traditional geography. For example, we have just now discussed the states through which Aravalli passes. This is there in the newspaper, but you can easily tell, right? Second, third, how many million years? It is given in newspaper, but I think with some sources, it is between 600 to. So it belongs to the Upper Caledonian period. We have like different periods. Like if you go with this logic, it belongs to pre-Cambrian. Or just believe that this is the ancient mountains in India. And what do you know? What is the age of Himalayas? This is 1,500 million years. What is Himalayas age? Less than 40 million years. And the Shivaliks is between 2 to 20 million years. They are the youngest fold mountains. That is why they are very much lofty. And these are also called as relic mountains. Why? Because they are the remaining relics. You understand what is relic? Residues. Aravallis are also called as relic mountains or residual mountains because they have withstood the erosional effect of the denuration agents and are standing for so many millions of years. Okay. Next, the Delhi Ridge is a vital ecological or the geographical feature, and it is a critical juncture marked by the myriad of challenges. Challenges is because human activities are more. Okay. Problems. What are the problems? The action figures might vary from, see, whatever the hectares we are saying, 308 hectares for encroachment and 183 hectares for non-forest activities is maybe the official one, but in reality it can be even worse or even bad. Okay. Next, the speed of removal of encroachment is also slow. One is, as always discussed and in the previous article also, the data whatever we are getting may not be the exact number. First point is that the encroachment will be even more. Second, even if the encroachment is there, the removal of such encroachment is done at a snail's pace. And who is supposed to do that? The forest ministry or the respective state governments. Are they able to remove the encroachment? And we have always seen that some the state government or maybe some officials and wealthy people are in collusion, right? So and the DC or the AC of the district will take some money and they'll convert the forest land into non-forest land conversions. So this is not also, the speed of removal of encroachment is also happening at a slower pace. See, only 91 hectares of encroachment are removed in the last 5 years. Look at the amount of encroachment, nearly 400 hectares. And how much has been removed? Only 91. So that means, what can we say? Lack of commitment from the side of a bureaucracy? Can be, right? And diversion of the ridgeland for non-forested have increased gradually. For example, last 5 years, how many happened? It was 117.97 hectares. And in the last 5 years, it has increased up to how many? 183 hectares, right? And different orders are passed by the multiple committees. Orders and courts have led to not only no progress being made, but to secure the rich biodiversity, but also diluted the seriousness of the issues. So the court is time and again passing orders. There are so many committees always submitting reports, but still there is bureaucratic lethargy. That is what is happening. Understood? Simple article, but the importance of Araval is you need to take a note of it. Okay. Third, this article is related to a particular bird species, and this bird species are called as magpies. ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಂತೀವಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಂತೀರಿ ಗೊರವಂಕ ಅಂತೀವ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊರವಂಕ ಕೇಳಿದಿರ? ಗೊರವಂಕ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ? ತೆಲುಗಲ್ಲಿ ಗೋರಿಂಕ ಚಿಲಕ ಗೋರಿಂಕ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಯೆಲ್ಲೋ ಕಲರ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. Okay, fine, forget about that. So this article is related to the magpies of Himalayas. So we have different types of magpies. Magpies are a type of a bird. Okay, first question, which among the following does the term magpies refer to? A, avian, other name for avian is bird. B, marsupials. C, amphibians. Fourth, reptiles. A, avians, right? So this magpies of Himalayas, this was given in your editorial. It was a beautiful article, right? So you need to normally we have like almost like 3 types of magpies are there. One is yellow billed, second is blue, third is red. 3 colored magpies are there, and these are the endemic species. In environment, there is a concept known as endemic and endangered species. Endemic is different from endangered. Means with respect to their terms, how many individuals or what is the population of this species are there, and it has reduced more than 90% in the last 1 decade. Therefore it is can be called as endangered. But endemic means it is particularly confined to a geographical region. For example, lion-tailed macaque. Lion-tailed macaque is an endemic species of Western Ghats. It can be only found in Western Ghats. Talk about golden langur. Both belong to the monkey family, ape family. But golden langur is found in northeast India, right, in the eastern Himalayas. So you need to understand which are the endemic species, endangered species, what is the spread, and where it is situated. Okay, so magpies, simple. These are the information which was there in newspaper only. I did not do any research. So they belong to which family? They belong to Corvidae family, consisting of ravens, crows, and jays. So magpies also belong to which family? Belong to ravens, crow, ಕಾಗೆಗಳು ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ, crows, ravens, and jays. And this article is beautiful because it talks about the cultural importance. In European culture, it is also considered to be like they are somewhere related to a omen, either good omen or bad omen. For example, a single magpie means it is bad, 2 magpie means it's good, right? And it is always used for, like in the European culture, it is used for the witchcraft. So there is certain birds are synonymous to certain belief system. For example, in Hinduism, crows are considered to be the, yes or no, it is considered the vehicle of Sri Shani Mahatma. And if a crow comes to your home, it is said that you are supposed to vacate the home. Means there are certain belief system. In the same way, certain belief system is also associated with these birds, but we don't talk about their spread, habitation, nesting habitats, cultural importance, and it is a beautiful article with respect to environment, both from prelims and mains point of view. Done, because such questions have already come before also. Therefore, it gives me, it is important for us to discuss about this. One, distribution. It is distributed from Kashmir to Myanmar. So almost 2/3 of India, right? And habitation, this is important. It can live, because there are 3 species of birds we are going to discuss here. And with every altitude, as you move away from equator to the polar region, or as you move from the ground level up in the altitude, for example Himalayas, vegetation change, yes or no? Equatorial rainforest, tropical rainforest, huge amount of temperature constant, because this is the torrid zone, right? Temperature is more, humidity is more, therefore heavy rainfall. Equatorial rainforest, yes or no? Then we have tropical moist deciduous, dry deciduous. Then we have grassland, savanna type. Then we have shrubland or a desert, yes or no? Tropical deserts. Then we go to temperate latitudes. We have this alpine coniferous forest, right? Or we can call it as like taiga. Then we have tundra. Are you able to understand? So with every latitude, vegetation changes. In the same way, with every altitude, vegetation changes. Near the ground level, the vegetation is going to be evergreen forest, because of if the rainfall is happening and it is a rain shadow region, or it's a windward side of a mountain, the bottom of mountains will have green. And as you go up, because Himalayas are like huge in height, yes or no? After a certain level, there is permanent snow cover, yes or no? There you can only see ferns, birch, and mosses. As you go descend down from the mountain, the vegetation increases from because it is directly related to the amount of moisture. Done. In the same way, their habitation also changes from tropical moist broadleaf forest. See, I'm going to teach you one logic with respect to geography. Remember, wherever heavy rainfall is there, talk about the equatorial region or the tropical rainforest, the trunk of the tree, observe, the trunk of the tree is going to be wider. You understand what is a trunk? The length of the tree is going to be taller. Tallest mountains, tallest trees in the equator. Imagine this is the equatorial region, this is the polar region. Okay? And imagine this is the mountain, and I've just folded the mountain. This is the base of the mountain, this is the top of the mountain. Are you able to understand? Both are similar sort of vegetation. Taller mountains, broader trunk, right? Hardwood and broadleaves. Have you seen that movie Avatar? And you've seen that now, that is a typical tropical rainforest having broad leaves. So as you move away from equator to the polar region, the leaf size decreases. Okay. Second, strength of the wood decreases. It becomes most softwood. Talk about cricket bats, soft willow. It is only available in the temperate latitudes. It's not available in the tropical regions. Right? So the strength of the tree reduces, the girth of the tree reduces, height of the tree reduces. Ultimately, the height reduces, becomes grasses, and ultimately becomes desert. Done? Same way. Right? The habitation is between the tropical moist broadleaf, right? Tropical moist broadleaf forest at the lower altitude. See, lower altitudes, are you able to understand? Lower altitudes have huge amount of rainfall is there. So therefore, more the rainfall, more is the size of the leaf, and more is the length of the tree and width. Okay. So through subalpine to treeless alpine. Subalpine means what? For example, taiga, right? Coniferous forest. And alpine means completely snow covered. Done. So it is available in all the three vegetation, from the mountain bottom to almost to the certain heights where the ice is permanently there. Okay. So treeless alpine of landscape consisting of juniper bushes areas in the higher altitudes. So in the higher altitudes we have permanent snow cover. This is the snow line on which we have permanent snow cover, and some amount of tough grasses are there. Those are called as juniper bushes. Okay. And as you descend down, moisture increases, the length of the tree increases, right? And the bottom of the mountain we can see good amount of tropical moist leaves. Understood? Okay, fine. So least concern when it comes to IUCN list. What is IUCN? Have you heard of this IUCN red data list? It actually gives a category of endangered, threatened species. We have like many categories are there. One is, for example, extinct in the wild, least concern, right? Like data deficient. Then comes your critically endangered, okay, vulnerable, threatened, nearly threatened, data deficiency. So this red data list categorizes given by International Union for the Conservation of Nature, having a data about all the species, whether flora or fauna, and based on its population and its vulnerability. Done. So in that it is least concern. That means the population is more than 1 lakh. So therefore it is not critically endangered or endangered. Okay, the population is sufficient. Next, how many types of magpies are there in India? We have 3 types. One is yellow-billed magpie, also known as gold-billed magpie, right? Second, we have red-billed magpie, and third is blue magpie. How many types of magpie are there? Yellow, blue, red. Okay, so yellow is also called as what? Gold-billed magpie. Now this is something which is there in the higher altitude, subalpine, right? Between 2000 to 3000 meters above sea level. So first comes your yellow-billed magpie, right? Then comes in the lower heights, we have red-billed magpie and blue-billed magpie. Means they are belong to the same family, but their habitation changes. There is a concept in environment, right? That certain birds belong to the same species are situated on the top of the tree, and there are certain birds of the same species belong which are habitation is at the bottom of the tree. Have you heard of that? No environment? Just know about this. Okay. So habitation changes based on the altitude. Okay, na? Right? So next, at the lower heights, which birds are there? Red and blue magpie. Okay. So best sightings of yellow-billed and the red-billed varieties are found in which corridors? It is found in Sikkim. So if you're talking about higher altitudes, obviously you're talking about Himalayas. And Himalayas, which state? We're talking about Sikkim. Sikkim between which district? The town of Yukon to Kanchenjunga, the biggest mountain as of now, excluding the POK. Otherwise, it is K2. So K2 is the largest mountain peak in India because we consider POK as a part of India. Excluding POK, Kanchenjunga is the tallest peak. Okay, right? So near Gochila Pass, and there we can see these yellow-billed, red-billed varieties. The yellow-billed blue magpie, what is the size? It's the size of a pigeon, right? It is having a long tail. Just remember, it is having a long tail, right? This is of very much not so relevant information. Okay, moving forward. So what is its feed? It feeds on worms, right? So when it is feeding on the worm, this is a sort of statement which is given in UPSC. They'll talk about, for example, statement. First is India has 3 varieties of magpies: yellow, red, and blue. Correct? Yellow, blue, and purple. Correct? No. Right? So again, another statement. While foraging on the worms on the ground, the tail is pointed upwards. When it is feeding, the tail is, it's happy, the tail is pointed upwards, right? But when it's picking up the berries on the trees, the tail is swooping downwards. These are the characteristics. This is what UPSC focuses on. They're only focused on the characteristics. Okay, for example, any species if you're talking about, its habitat, its food habit, or its nesting habitat, or what is the habit of it's like mating, or what is when is the season, how many. These are the information which is obviously coming in the newspapers, but focus of UPSC. That means they just want to know how much detail you know about any topic. Done. So while feeding on worms, tail is upward. While feeding on berries, tail is swoop downwards. Done. Okay, now so nesting behavior. See, nesting behavior, they prefer particular type of trees. Which are those trees? Rhododendron trees. What type of trees? Rhododendron trees, and hastily constructs a nest. And haphazard constructor. Only using some twigs and something, grasses, it is going to hastily construct a nest, but inside it is soft because it is going to put grass. Don't think that why is it important for UPSC exam. It is definitely important because the sort of species when it comes to, see, we have huge number of questions coming from environment and geography. Do you believe that? Because since the Forest Service are also writing prelims along with us, the number of questions with respect to this is going to be more. And please go through previous year's questions. You will find this sort of questions coming in prelims. It may not be coming from mains point of view, but it is definitely a prelims question. Okay, so just you already we have a fair idea as to like what is its eating habits, where is its location when it comes to altitude, right? What is the nesting habit? You have fair idea. Once you read it, it'll be easy for you. Okay, so nesting habit means on which trees? Rhododendron trees. Second, is it neatly done or haphazardly done? Haphazardly done, using only twigs and soft, but there is soft laying of grasses. How many eggs? 3 to 6 eggs laid in which month? May or June. Okay, so the blue and the red are very similar in appearance, whereas the yellow one is the bigger one. Remember, as you move away from the equator to the polar region, the height and the size of a species increases. You talk about the Bengal tiger and the Amur tiger. Amur tiger is the Siberian tiger, which is much more bigger in size. You talk about Indians and the European cricket players. Look at them. What is the Russians and all? Geographical region. Okay, reason. When these are the blue and the red are the one which are actually closer to the lower altitudes, and lower altitude means more amount of temperature. So therefore, less in size. The species which are living in the colder regions will have larger body size because energy is not lost, it is conserved in the body. Done. So the blue magpie is often seen around villages, whereas the red is often a forest bird. See, again, one more characteristics. Red is not it doesn't venture into the human habitats, whereas the blue, it can stay both in forest as well as in the rural areas, villages, right? The species can be spotted as solid birds in pairs, so it can be not solid, it's solitary, right? Solitary, so they can be visible solitary in pairs or also in a flock of 8 to 10 making noises. Done. Simple. Okay, problem, this is the threat. We have discussed about which is the favorite tree for that magpie. Rhododendron tree. These people are actually venturing into that because they are cutting down these trees and making sure that it acts as a very beautiful tourist spot. So therefore huge amount of anthropogenic activities involvement is threatening their habitat. So it will lead to what? Habitat destruction. That is what the threat to this magpie. Done. So anthropogenic activities in the forest areas raise concern about the ability of the magpie to cope with the habitat change, because these species have very small adaptability to the changes in the habitat. Do you know that? For example, we are constructing, there is a elephant corridor or a tiger corridor in a forest. Suppose you construct a railway line and it is cutting across the elephant corridor. Elephants do not know, because that is the traditional path. They move from one region to another region, or there is one migratory path of for the buffaloes also. They don't know exactly where to go. And in the non-availability of water and other resources, they may not find alternative ways to follow, and they would end up dying. So that means in nature, species have very small adaptability to any changes. If any changes is happening in this region, obviously it is going to affect their nesting and their livelihood also, survival. Yes or no? Right? So tourist attraction like rhododendron flowers pose a sustainable challenge, as villagers might resort to what? Forest resources to support tourism. This is some of the problems or threats which is posed to this magpie. Useful? Right? Now cultural or the folklore importance of this magpie. UPSC is interested in this sort of information. They just don't want you to like traditionally go through the same old information. They want you to like be lively about know about something like importance of that with respect to cultural point of view, festival point of view, right? It is usually there in rhymes also. The birds of these families are generally considered to be noisy, right? They are noisy, inquisitive, and they are used in folklore around the world. For example, often associated with women. They want UPSC can give you a question or maybe a statement. Crows are usually considered to be as a symbol of bad omen. Correct? Is the statement correct? In Hindu culture, like crows, it may not be the same throughout other cultures also, but ravens and crows, we have seen that, right? Witchcraft and all. You see, wherever a witch is there, a crow is always there. A crow or a raven. Even in the Game of Thrones, ravens are given a specific role there, right? But these magpies are usually, because they belong to a family of Corvidae consisting of ravens and crows, they are usually considered to be a omen. It can be good or bad, maybe bad. Okay, so in European cultures, they always accompany whom? Witches, right? This is a cultural background about this magpies. And in English rhyme, see, one for sorrow. If you find any one magpie means, that means it brings bad luck. I'll tell you. In Hindu also we have, in our belief system also we have this, right? Suppose you're going to UPSC exam, a cat crosses your path, cuts your path. So obviously it is considered to be bad, right? Then your mother calls you, come back, sit down, have some water. We have that, right? We are a part of a culture. That's a culture that is really good. Otherwise, if imagine that you are not having this sort of belief system or cultures, what are we then? Machines, right? So 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl. So if 3 backpiece comes, that means a girl child is going to come. 4 for boy. So this is a rhyme which is there in the English rhyme. So therefore, this might be important for the next prelims point of view. Okay, done. Shall we move on? Okay, we had one article related to climate change, impact on women and children. Second, sorry, Central High Power Committee with respect to Aravalis. So Aravali, Delhi Ridge, right? Third, related to environment, species, that is bird. And fourth article with respect to dietary habit. Food, again health related article. Health related article, have you heard of this ultra processed foods? Okay, tell me which are the processed foods. Any idea? Which are the processed foods? Chips. Very good. They are processed. Why? Because preservatives are added into it for, because if you're eating Pringles or like chips or Lay's or something, it will be there for so many days, alva. So some amount of preservatives had to be added into it, or maybe you adopt a mechanism that means they are processed. Do you believe that they are processed food? Definitely. And there are other categories which are ultra processed foods. Have you seen that there are ready to eat noodles irutte? You just have to put that in oil. I don't know. Some we have some nuggets and all those things, you know? We have that both in veg and non-veg. We have seekh kebab and all those things, right? So those are what ultra processed foods, right? Now the article is that what happens if you keep on consuming those ultra processed foods, right? So the new study says that it will lead to your early death. So stay away from the ultra processed food. Understand? Now this is not done for 1 year. The study itself is carried out for more than 30 years as per the British Medical Journal. And it is specifically confined to US citizens because US people are they are having largest number of obese people in the world. And they are the people who actually eat large amount of such ultra processed food. But it is related to humankind and it is related to the diet, it is related to the health. So therefore the article becomes important. Okay. Now it may be there in USA, doesn't mean that it's not going to affect India also. And in the previous class also we discussed about the presence of ethylene oxide in spices. Yes or no? So our food is becoming more and more dangerous. It is becoming more and more carcinogenic. In that aspect, health related, especially diet related articles are very much important for you. You need to make a note of it. Okay, na? Right? So first is what is the focus? What sort of food? Ultra processed foods will lead to early death. How? So first, so as per the publications in British Medical Journal, the study is done for how many years? 30 years. So for a period of 30 years, this study has been done on certain target groups. Then USA, okay? So observation means high consumption. This is observation, simple. High consumption of ultra processed foods is linked to slightly higher risk of death. Now, death due to what? We're going to have that subcategorization. So, which of the ultra processed foods have risk? One is, which are the ultra processed foods have high amount of risk? First is ready to eat meat, poultry, and seafood, sea-based products. Yes or no? Ready to eat. ಹಾಕಿ ಎಣ್ಣೆಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅವನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಿ ಹೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಿನ್ನಿ. So this ready to eat meat, particularly the first highest amount of risk factor is with respect to the meat products. So meat products is having the highest amount of risk. They are most carcinogenic. Freshly prepared today, okay fine, you can keep it in fridge and 3-4 days. It's not usually good for health. And when it coming from any processing unit or industry, it is again to be taken cautiously. Okay. Second, sugary drinks. Which are the sugary drinks? Coke, Sprite, and all those things. And after in India and all, I should reduce that. After non-veg, I want to take Sprite. I don't like Coke, but Sprite togoti nanu reduce madkobeku. sugar, because I want to live longer. That's why. Sugary drinks, dairy-based desserts. You tell me which are the dairy-based desserts? Ayyo, ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. Which are the dairy-based desserts? Ice creams, right? Ice creams. So dairy-based desserts and highly processed breakfast. Which are the highly processed breakfast? Mueslis. Good for health. Muesli alla baralla. Even those are also processed, alva? Mueslis or like oats, right? So even the highly processed breakfast show the strongest association with the high risk of death. Okay, the finding suggests a limit on the consumption. What is important? So this is definitely is linked to the early deaths in your body. Second is it's going to cause obesity, something related to cardiac failure or some different sort of diseases are going to be associated with this. So what is suggested? Limited intake. Doesn't mean that you have to completely stop it. but limited intake, right? So limit on the consumption of certain types of ultra processed food products, whereas it does not ban all the ultra processed food products. Some ultra processed food products can be considered healthy or like acceptable limit, but not every ultra processed food products are healthy. We need to tread carefully. Okay na? So which are the health risks? Now this again, these ultra processed foods are actually scored using what? Alternate healthy eating index 2010 score, right? So it actually gives a score with respect to the amount of threat it poses to the health as per this scoring, right? So as per this score, highest risk is what? So if you're taking this ultra processed food, there is high risk of obesity, understandably. You look at all the US people, right? Most of them. The good thing about Delhi, like I should say, how it changes from one region to another region, because we are South Indians, right? And we have seen the people around here. There, because the place we were staying, there was old Rajan Nagar. Every auntie are like obese auntie. They eat like anything, and I should not be saying, but I'm talking about the people in general and the region, their dietary habits. How it differs from one region of a country to another region. Talk about Delhi or like northern region, huge amount of people who are obese than compared to the South India. Why? Because the dietary preferences. Okay, same thing. So high risk of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and bowel cancer. So what are the risks when you are taking what sort of food? What are we talking about? Huh? Ultra? Ultra processed food. What is the threat? Obesity, heart disease, then diabetes and bowel cancer. Don't miss the bowel cancer. This is something which is new for you, right? So a few long-term studies said that it can also lead to what? Cancer. So long-term consumption of ultra processed foods can also become carcinogenic and cause cancer, right? For example, bowel cancer or intestine cancer. Done? Or pancreatic cancer also. Next, so during an average 34 years follow-up, how many deaths have they witnessed? So for a period of 34 years, they have taken account of all deaths which have happened. 48,193 deaths have happened. That is related to ultra processed foods. So you can give an account only in US alone. We have nearly 50,000 deaths related to the consumption of this ultra processed food. UPSC is least worried about your data. They are concerned about your observation and your sensitivity, how much you are aware of what's happening, and of which the largest deaths due to cancer. So largest deaths are due to cancer caused due to the ultra processed food products. Second, cardiovascular diseases. Third, respiratory diseases. And fourth is your neurodegenerative diseases. How many types of diseases we have discussed about? Obesity, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, heart disease, and also bowel cancer, right? So we have also, apart from that, neurodegenerative diseases. Any example of neurodegenerative diseases? Have you heard of this? Alzheimer's, or like we have any other neurodegenerative diseases where the central nervous system is affected? Stroke. Heard of that? It will also lead to this, right? So compared to the participants with lower intake of ultimately talking about comparison. So now we have two categories of people: one who are taking less, one who are taking more. Both have at risk, but people who are taking more have 4% higher chances of deaths. 4% higher chances of deaths and 9% higher risk of other sort of deaths. For example, not related to obesity or cardiovascular, it can be related to neurodegenerative diseases. Done? Are you able to understand? Just follow up the trends. The rate of death among the food intake, for example, those taking less, out of 1 lakh, 1,472 people will die. Those taking more, out of 1 lakh, 1,536 people are going to die. And this is for sure, which is not less. Almost 1.5%, right? Yes or no? So highest death rate is associated with consumption of ultra processed meat, poultry and seafood based. So therefore, if you want to take any food, don't take the preserved non-veg food. So go for the fresh one, right? Okay, na. So followed by we already discussed this. Sugar, sweetened and artificial. So it's an indicator for me, right? The next comes to the dairy-based desserts and ultra-processed breakfast food. So when overall dietary quality was taken into account, the association was less. That is not important. So dietary quality has stronger influence on the long-term health and than the ultra-processed food consumption. So ultimately, long-term affect cancer. So what is advisable? What is recommendatory? That have a limited, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to stay away from the ultra processed because you can't control your taste buds sometimes if you're going out of country, but make sure that the intake is limited and if possible try to work out. right that is what Virat Kohli does, and he definitely follows a strict dietary regime. But if you want to eat some chole bhature or something like that which is full with butter and all, he makes sure that he works hard. He and his wife works hard so much that everything is gone, right? So next, very important article. Have you heard of this avian influenza? Bird flu. Bird flu, new article comes in which says that cattle are the carriers of bird flu now. Cattle, earlier pigs were the carriers. You know what is a carrier? I mean, from them, it can be transmitted to humans. The new article says that the milk of cow is infected with more amount of influenza A virus H5N1. Are you able to understand? The new article is saying that usually, how is the bird flu spread? It is spread from birds to humans, right? And it is usually found in the respiratory tract. But a new study says that the milk of a cow is having more amount of influenza A virus. Why? Because of the adaptive mechanism of this virus, right? The virus also keeps on evolving. How we can see, we have seen that in COVID also, right? We have new variants of COVID. Earlier we had this SARS. Viruses keep on evolving, right? So what is important about this is that it is related to health. And in health, we have swine flu. Swine flu, have heard of that? Flu, viral related. There was a question about avian influenza, also known as influenza A or H5N1, right? H5N5, that is swine flu. Ultimately, it is also going to affect humans. Now, this article is mainly talking about cattle. Now, cattle which are considered to be so pious and very what can I say? Cattle are considered to be very I'm not getting the exact word. Very divine sort of thing. Huh? Sacred, yeah. So cows or cattle are considered to be so sacred and so peaceful. Now they are acting as a carrier of influenza A virus. Done? Shall we carry on? So what is the name? Influenza A virus is also called as what? Avian influenza. What is that? Avian influenza, also known as bird flu. So now cattle, if I'm going to give a statement, if a statement comes in UPSC that cattle are considered to be a carriers of or the domestic host of bird flu, is the statement correct? Many would go with their own logic and they would definitely mark the statement as wrong. It is correct. The statement is correct. And obviously, you have seen based on the last year statements, it's statement wise question. Only one correct, only two correct, only three correct. Right? You have to be careful and look at the cutoff. I'm really jealous of you people. Your part, what can I say? You're the citizens of one period where the cutoff is going this low, which we have never witnessed in our life during our preparations. We're feeling jealous. Sorry? ಎಂಥದಿಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Nothing, no toughness. Only thing is that approach, probably we are becoming more and more wise, and that is why we might be saying that. But yes, obviously I would feel that it becoming more and more competitive than what it was like 10 years ago. So you are belonging to the better era. So UPSC is training you to become the better version of yourself. Feel good about that. Right? So what is the name of the virus? H5N1. Tell me. H5N1. What is the name for H5N1? Also known as bird flu, also known as avian influenza, also known as influenza A virus. What is the news about? Who are acting as a host? Cattle. Cattle are acting as a host. Where? Cattle milk. So avian H5N1 virus have been detected in the high concentration is milk from the infected dairy cattle, and it is larger level than that what is actually found in the respiratory tract. Usually, what is the modus operandi of this virus is that it usually transfers from the phlegm of the respiratory tract from that to other species. But the concentration of virus which is there in the respiratory tract is very less when compared to what is it is actually there in the milk. So it is cause of concern, right? Because the infected cattle milk is consumed by many people, so there is high propensity of the spreading of this virus. Yes or no? First point done. So where is the concentration of this virus more, in the milk or in the respiratory sample? Milk of infected cattle. First point done. Next, higher concentration of virus in the milk sample strongly suggests that these pathogens. So that means whatever the pathogen, as I said, these pathogens which are virus are keep on evolving. So now they have found a new place for evolving, which is that obviously the milk of a cattle, right? In the cattle differs from other mammals, because other mammals usually the virus is concentrated in the respiratory tract. Here it is concentrated in the milk. That means it is evolving. Yes or no? Third, the reasons for the cattle containing high concentration means the influenza virus has a greater propensity to infect the mammary glands of cows. Are you able to understand? So why the concentration of virus is more in the milk means because compared to two regions, one is respiratory tract and second is the mammary glands, high propensity of the virus attacking the mammary glands of a cattle than the respiratory tract. So cause of concern, that is why if you talk about like the cattle industry throughout the world, not in India, the udders are clearly completely sanitized before milking. Udders, na, milk ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ. For example, you go talk about the European countries, Denmark, Netherlands. They have huge domestic this cattle industry, and the sufficient care is taken care of. Sufficient sanitation has been taken care of before milking, right? Done. So on evaluating the expression of H1N1 receptors, see what is receptors? You need to understand. Receptors are like a gateway, and they are usually on the surface of a virus. So that means through this gateway, that means you have certain compound and there is a gate. Gate is the way where the virus can inject its this RNA into the other species. So those are called as receptors, right? Receptors means easily it can be, this is a zone of infection. This is a zone from where the infection is going to spread from one species to other. Done. So in the mammary glands, so the expression of the H1N1 receptors in the mammary glands, respiratory tract and the cerebrum of the cattle, it was found that both human and duck receptors to be highly expressed and distributed in mammary glands. Means when I talk about the duck and the human receptors, means the probability of humans getting affected and the ducks getting affected from the mammary glands is more. Why? Because these receptors which are there in the cattle mammary glands are open, and through these receptors what happen, the virus is going to spread to humans. That is what called as the human and the duck receptors. Are you able to understand? Okay, fine. The presence of human and the duck receptors provide an opportunity for the evolution of H1N1 to easily spread from animals to humans. See, as long as the receptors are there, as long as the gate is open, there is movement of virus. Yes or no? That is called as receptors. So when it is there, we have human receptors also, we have duck receptors also, it is there in the pig also. And it can be easily transmitted from animals to humans. Why? Because there is opening up of receptors or the virus, and it can be moved from animals to humans. Done? Okay. So chicken type influenza. So chicken type influenza receptors are common in cow. Chicken type influenza means we talk about the avian influenza. Avian influenza receptors are common in cow respiratory tract, right? But the high concentration of these fragments in milk could be due to the local viral replications in the mammary glands. as I said, the pathogens are evolving, right? They are exhibiting this mechanism where they can be easily transmitted from the animals to humans or for the other species. Why? Because their receptor capacity is actually increasing. Done. So location of the receptors, as I said, chicken receptors usually respiratory tract, right? So surface of the respiratory epithelium in the upper respiratory tract and the upper part of the lower respiratory tract, we usually find the chicken receptors, right? While the human and the duck receptors are usually there, lacking or limited in the expression, but all the receptors of human chickens and ducks are abundantly expressed in the lung alveolar cells of the cows. Are you able to understand? Right? That means, simply, in simple word, I should say that the probability of virus which can be spread to humans and ducks are situated more in the milk of cow as well as in the alveolar cells of the cows. Done. So this provides a perfect environment for the evolution. So the H5N1 is evolving, right? And when it is evolving, that it is also able to find better ways to spread from the animals to humans, right? When it is evolving better ways, that means the receptors are also going to be evolved. Alva? So the pigs have both human and avian flu host cell receptors. Therefore, it is able to spread the virus because they have the receptors, right? So in their upper respiratory tract. In the same way, now the cow is also having the human and the bird flu cell receptors in its milk as well as in its respiratory tract. So now, therefore, the cow has become a host. Done? Okay, na? So therefore, pigs are called as the evolutionary lab for the flu host switching, because the host is switching from pig to bird, from bird to humans. Done? Are you able to understand? Simple concept. The cow mammary glands also have contain the same kind of the mixed flu like what the pig is having. Pig is having both human type of flu receptors and the bird type of flu receptors, and therefore it can be spread to humans and birds easily. Cattle are also having the same. Done? And which gland of cattle? Mammary glands. Done? So one of the key changes required to the flu to transport effectively is that, so which is that toxins which are there, or I should say hemagglutinin, right? So flu's hemagglutinin is actually injected from the receptors to the other species, right? Host cell receptors preference. The cell surface receptor means influenza uses in the birds is subtly different from the one that is actually there in the human upper respiratory tract. So, but when pigs get infected with the human and avian influenza virus, at the same time, the virus can potentially undergo reassortment and smaller fragments of genome gets swapped, right? That is called as host swapping. Done? Okay, fine. The swapping might sometimes help the avian influenza 2 virus to become better adapted to the bind. Okay, it's as simple as that. They are evolving. This virus or influenza virus, they are evolving within the mammary glands or within the respiratory tract of a species, right? So that means after evolving, they are having a specialized mechanism where the spread from animals to humans becomes, or to other animals becomes more prominent. That's it. Don't worry about any other things. These are all the words and languages which is there in the newspaper. So the co-expression of both human and avian receptors in the, so you just only have to remember that the cow milk or the mammary glands of the cow will have both human and avian receptors, and as a result of which it can be spread from animals to humans. That's it. Don't worry much. Okay, na? So the new variant is the co-expression can make the bovines to behave like a mixing vessel for a new influenza. Maybe new influenza is also going to come. Maybe H5N6, H5N7 or H6N6. Are you able to understand? So the cows can also become a creator of a new variant of virus in future. So we have to be careful. Done? So means that the dairy cattle may have similar potential as pigs to serve as the evolutionary intermediates between avian and human flu. Done? So cattle are, so they may be the carriers, so be careful. Done? Done? So do you need a break? Do you need a break? Do we really need a break? You can take a break in between. So it's almost like 3:45. Huh? Shall we continue? See, come on. If you take break, obviously it can go beyond 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can take break in between. You don't have to ask my permission. You can leave. But shall we continue? Right. Thank you so much. Streamlining the pharma sector of India again related to pharmacy. Pharma sector. See, ultimately we have discussed about something known as the presence of non-permissible chemicals in our spices, right? India is a country which is actually wanting to become the world leader in generic medicine. You know what is generic medicine? Generic medicine means it will have the same chemical formula. It is going to exhibit the same chemical characteristics, and the objective is to cure the particular disease or particular ailment, but which is available at a very less of a cost. For example, we have this, which is at Janaushti Kendras are there. The objective is to make sure that all people of India are getting access to affordable healthcare, affordable medicines, right? In that context, obviously the medicines which are produced in India is under scrutiny, because when it comes to world standards, the world standards are even high. Yes or no? Right? So what happened? Earlier there was a practice that we have a apex agency which is actually providing licenses to the manufacturers. Which manufacturers? Drug manufacturers. So it was given by the state government. It was given by the state government, but we faced backlashes in many other countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, and citing that Indian medicines are substandard. They're saying that Indian medicines are not good, they're substandard. So therefore, it is high time for the main authority, that is the Central Drug Standards Control Organization, to take some necessary actions and stop giving licenses to non-verified manufacturers. So this is the news. The news is that licensing authority which was given to the state government by the same CDSCO in 2018 has been now taken back. Now CDSCO is going to be the sole authority which is going to be issuing licenses to the drug manufacturers. Background, why? Because to maintain quality in producing drugs and pharmaceuticals. Okay, right? First article, first point. Context means, as I said, CDSCO. What is CDSCO? Central, tell me. Central, I want you to please repeat, because that is how we able to better retain thing. Central, everyone. Central Drug Standards Control Organization has withdrawn powers delegated to the states with respect to what? Licensing issue authorities to issue NOCs. To whom? To the drug manufacturers who were unauthorized, banned, or for example any company which is coming up with the new drug. So in future, that whosoever company is actually coming with the new drug, who is supposed to give the license? The Central Drug Standards Control Organization. Can the state government give now? They cannot give, right? Can they license it, even the renewal of the license also is done by the same authority. Done? First information. Yeah, understand? Ma'am, are you able to understand? Sir? Okay, fine. Right. So, problem, because India has been accused of what? Substandard drugs. Indian drugs are not good. And it has been sold, because even the state government also can sell the products. It doesn't have to go from the central government only. The state governments, many states are also having bilateral the trade relationship with the other countries also. But Indian drugs are actually criticized for being the substandard drugs, causing health concerns. For example, in the cough syrups, Indian cough syrup led to the death of so many people, children. It's a huge international crisis, right? And then what about the image of India? See, ultimately, forget about image of India. The life lost cannot be taken back. Second, what is the potential of Indian pharmaceutical industry? Huge potential is there. And you are a country who are actually thinking about becoming one of the world leader in generic medicines. Obviously, you have to focus on making sure that your quality, the product of your quality, there is some quality in your product. Because when you have producing quality products, you have more potential for trade. When you have more potential for trade, obviously it is going to contribute for economy. For that, quality assessment is most important, right? So for who is going to do the quality assessment? The CDSU. Done? Okay, fine. So now CDSCO is the sole authority for providing manufacturing license of drugs meant for export. So export quality drugs are to be coming under the scrutiny of what? CDSCO, right? So all the manufacturing manufacturing companies which want to export drugs to other countries have to seek license from CDSCO, and they are going to scrutinize, and they will be given necessary approvals. Okay, so background again, ultimately this power for the state government to the state government was given by the same authority when in 2018 they gave. So they authorized the states and unities to issue the drug license. So they only authorize the states and unities to issue the drug license to grant permission to export some specific drugs to the certain manufacturers. But now that has been recalled. Done. So now they are becoming centralizing. So again, this topic is about centralizing tendency, right? Centralizing the licensing authority. So a question might come because ultimately we are voting for something known as decentralized approach, right? Centralizing the standards for the drug manufacturing, is it good or bad? These sort of questions will be coming in your mains. Done. Now this article can give you some insight about whether centralizing is good or decentralization is good. And this is a classic 15 marker question, and I have also provided you the conclusion, and the conclusion is not my language, it is the language of newspaper only. You'll witness that. Okay, so as per the new order, the local regulator will have to hand over. So what is, first of all, state governments and union governments, do they have the authority to issue licenses? No, they are not supposed to issue the licenses. Role of India in pharma market. One, first of all, so first, India is the third largest producer of medicines, largest producer of pharmaceutical drugs and products and medicines in terms of volume, not in terms of value, in terms of volume. India is the third largest producer of pharmaceutical items, and we are exporting to more than 200 countries. That is, we're talking about the potential of India. If you are writing an essay or if you're writing a mains answer, you should know about India's pharmaceutical potential. Third largest producer by volume, exporting to how many countries? 200 countries, right? And supplies 62% of the global vaccine. We are supplying 62% of the global vaccines in some of the major important vaccines like DPT, BCG, and measles. Any idea about DPT full form? Array, you're all being given that vaccines, right? When you're kids. Digina. Diphenyl. No. DPT. I'm not talking about DDT. Diphtheria, polio, tetanus. And you should know. Diphtheria, polio, tetanus, and BCG means Bacillus calmette-guerin, not cholera. Please know the abbreviations of certain vaccines. DPT vaccines, diphtheria, polio, tetanus, right? BCG means Bacillus calmette-guerin, and measles vaccine. So we are like 62%. I mean, world vaccines are transported or exported from India only. Next, at least 70% of the WHO vaccines are sourced from India. Okay, India's, and this is actually given by the central government. Usually, when the parliament is asking any questions from the central government actually submits a report or record of as to how much of vaccines we are exporting to other countries. So central government as submission into the parliament is giving this data that we are providing 62% of vaccines, 70% of the WHO vaccines are sourced from India only. And so what is going to be the impact then? If you are exporting this much of vaccines to the world, don't you think that it is our sole responsibility to ensure quality in our drugs? Yes or no? And quality, how can it be ensured? By having a supervising or supra-supervising agency which is going to ensure that quality is utmost, right? Like the head of the family. Yes or no? This is not working. I cannot go every time there. It is, huh? See, I always have to use this. It is not properly. It's not user friendly for me. That was better.
Sir, you click on this
Right?
in that option.
What option?
Green.
Green option is for only. It's not happening, ma.
Actually, that only it will be there.
See, we have opened this content in a some other app before, but in this it's not happening.
So down can you see the PDF icon? PDF icon.
Where? Here. They opened in PDF. See, I'm not able to scroll down. Here I have to use this, which is not that. Okay,
So try the pen options.
it's not happening, ma. See, yeah, that is for writing. This is only for use. ಇದು ಮುಂಚೆ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಸ್ಕ್ರಾಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಇದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ನೀಟಾಗಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಇದು. ಮುಂಚೆ ಬೇರೆದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು, ನೀವು ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಡೋಬಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರ, ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಇದು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಯೂಶುವಲ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಟೇಬಲ್? I'm asking each and every one of you, please tell me your timetable, daily timetable. In the meantime, sir changes that. ಇದಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಗೀತಾ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ. ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಇದ್ರ ಪೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಪೇಜ್ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಕಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೋಡಿ ಈ ಥರ ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಕುತ್ಕೋತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. But I think it's not clearly visible for the online students or those who are taking online classes. With the font size has to be increased. Better. In the meantime, we'll continue, right? So, what will be the impact? Definitely, that change in policy will directly impact manufacturers and importers or exporters, because India is vying to become the world generic medicine leader. So, no, ultimately focusing on domestic production of vaccines and as well as drugs. So ultimately this becomes very much important, because ultimately it's also going to create a sort of a benchmark for the manufacturers to keep that this is a quality requirement that you need to achieve if you want your product to be exported, and it has to go through the CDSCO. Therefore, no room for lethargic work. Okay, and India has also started focusing on what? Self-reliance. Self-reliance in what? In terms of economic activities and large scale. Especially pharma sector is something which can boost India's economic prospect as well as the reputation of India around the world. Next, India's drug export potential. What is that? $251 billion is the potential of India in terms of export, because this decade between 2022 to 2030, many of the medicinal patents is going to go off patent. You know what is off patent? There are certain companies which are holding this patent right for the exclusive right to manufacture particular drugs and medicines. Now, when this off patenting is going to go, it is available for everyone. So there, in that medicines which was earlier not possible for us to manufacture because we were not having the patent, now it is available. So now we can manufacture the generic medicine in those earlier. Right? So now India can manufacture the drugs even in those or the vaccines or the medicines which were earlier not allowed to us. Right? So that means we are having access to huge amount of medicines which we can manufacture and export, and the cost of these medicines in the outside world is going to be huge. And India, since it is manufacturing the same generic medicine of lower cost, so there is going to be huge demand for Indian goods. Don't you think so? Like Chinese goods was so cheap, and it created a worldwide market for its cheap goods. I'm not saying that Indian medicine has to be cheap. It's not like low quality, but it is definitely affordable. If it is affordable, means definitely then we can think about that export potential of India is going to be even more. It is, as of now, it is valued at $251 billion. It can be even more in future. Why? Because this decade is going to be many companies who are holding the patent rights of certain medicines are going to go off patent. Once it is going off patent, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡಿದಪ್ಪ ಏನು ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ವಿಲ್ ಯೂಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Right? Done? So impact we have discussed, right? So off patent of the drugs will provide an opportunity for the entry of generic products into the drug market, and this will facilitate the expansion of generic drug market and inclusion of new drugs. Why? Because those drugs were not allowed earlier because certain companies held the patent rights, and you're not supposed to manufacture in those chemical products. Why? Because someone is holding the right, patent right. Now it is becoming open. So therefore new drugs are available for you for your manufacturing. And when this, for example, some drugs in US costing around $64,000, India is providing at only $177. Don't you think so? It is going to be affordable for every people, every person across the world, especially the sub-Saharan countries, right? So that is the potential of this generic drug. Therefore the focus is on self-reliance, but quality is dangling. So we need to focus on what? Enhancing our quality. How can we do that? By centralizing. How can we do that? By centralizing, right? Wait a minute. This is really tough. So what are the drawbacks? But the industry is faced with series of scandals, and the recent WHO investigation into 4 contaminated cough syrups causing acute kidney injuries, causing death of how many children in Gambia? 66 children consuming Indian made cough syrup. So therefore forget the reputation of nation is at stake. But most importantly, you cannot play with the life of any person. So it is most important that you provide very good medicine, very good drugs, provided certain precautions are taken care of. Okay, so what are the challenges? One is tackling cough syrup. I don't exactly know the name of the cough syrup, but I'll update you. Okay, so Indian exported cough syrup resulted in the death of 66 children, and especially affecting their kidneys. And in which country? Republic of Gambia last year. So apart from that, what are the challenges we have? One challenge is, first of all, ensuring the quality of drug. To ensure the quality of the drug, now CDSU has actually taken over. One. Second, in many other drugs, there are intellectual property right holders are there. There are patent holders. What is the syrup? Benadryl. No, not Benadryl. Right? So in many other countries, the patent, and that is chemical name. Ethylene glycol.
Ethylene glycol.
So what is the name of that syrup? Okay, we will find out, right? So next is tackling the intellectual property rights, lack of research and development in India, and lack of necessary investment in infrastructure, because pharmaceuticals is something which is not invested by many people, right? Many would definitely less number of people would want to actually invest and develop the infrastructure in the pharma. And apart from that, we also have the challenges like environmental. We have environmental problems are there, we have legal problems, we have technological, we have economical, and all these hurdles are there, especially the environmental hurdles. Why? Because a pharmaceutical industry cannot be set up until unless you get a permission from the Pollution Control Board, right? And once you start manufacturing, also you'll be subjected to the tenets of this environmental laws in India, right? And CPCP or like NGT is going to come. So we have certain operational hurdles are also there. But way forward means the pharma industry is must adapt to the changes in the external factors, right? We have to make sure that the regulatory standards are actually in place, leverage the technology advancements, and aligning the standards with evolving. So aligning the strategies with evolving needs of the pharmaceutical industry to succeed in global market. Okay, right? So these are the way forward. Now, if any argument comes in favor of like this was the question which I posed before the beginning of this article, that is it good for us to centralize the NOCs issuing or the licensing, right? Now there are arguments in favor of centralizing. One is, first of all, given the potential of our exports and the reputation across the world, it is important for us to have a apex agency which are having a body of experts to ascertain and to properly scrutinize the licensing regime in India, right? So there will be formalization of Indian pharma sector, yes or no? Because earlier it was like unregulated medicines were also sold. Even Patanjali can also claim that they can. And the court has actually imposed sanctions, and they said that my medicines can cure cancer and all. Court has to, I mean, they were answerable to the court, and later on they have to change that. And there are also other people, they say, no, use this oil and it's going to grow, your hairs are going to grow. These sort of babas and so many people are there. That has to be regulated. So there will be formalization of Indian pharma industry, right? Substandard and below par drugs are warded off, yes or no? And improve the overall efficiency and the proficiency process of quality drug delivery. Fourth, right? So it is going to bolster the pharma export to key international markets, especially the European countries where we can have good market, and also the least developed countries like sub-Saharan countries. And it is also going to bring uniformity in protocols. That is important, right? Always it is important for us to bring the protocols uniformity. I don't know what I have missed. Okay. It will bring uniformity in protocols arriving the targets of reaching what? Something in this, right? It is hard part. It is really hard. And protocols arriving in the target of reaching a $450 billion by 2047. That is our target. So what is our target? By 2047, we are aiming to become a $450 billion economy in terms of pharma exports, right? So then what are the quality of manufacturing? The article in the British Medical Journal said that the Indian government cracked down on recently. This was the name of the article. That recently, what are the initiatives done by India? One, we have discussed about the spices. The Spice Board took over, and FSSAI is actually ensuring that quality check is supposed to happen for every products which are going to be exported. Now here we are centralizing, right? CDSU is taking care, right? Apart from that, even the Indian government is cracking down on 18 drug companies for poor quality drug manufacturing and cancelling the license of 10. So these are the action taken by government of India, right? And the government cancelled license of the 10 pharmaceutical companies. Actions were both taken after inspection of the 76 drug firms across 20 states and a month before the March. That is right. Okay, next. And notices. These are all. So we issued notices. We have taken action. We have banned. We have closed 18 companies. We have deregulated or took the license of the 10 companies. That's it, right? So efforts to keep a strict watch. What is important? So efforts are made to keep a strict watch. How? For example, pharmaceutical companies will have to get through their NOC from the zonal office of CDSCO online. How you have to apply? Because ultimately you have to get license. Who is the license issuing authority? CDSCO. And how? Apply online. So apply online, and every CDSCO is going to have a zonal office. For example, Bangalore office, a south or southeast, right? Every district or probably every state is going to have a zonal office. They are going to issue the licenses, and before applying the manufacturing license from the respective states, drug regulators. So you have to apply through a drug regulator only. Application online through drug regulator. Third, from the zonal office. Done? Okay, next. So conclusion. Can you please read this conclusion? This is a language is actually given in the newspaper only. I can't see it right because I'm going to go out of the frame. So conclusion, see, export of goods is on the union list, and the central government always tried to be a centralizing authority. Thus, centralization of powers hasn't come as an overnight development. The government advisory group on drugs had earlier this year noted that getting NOCs from local drug regulators for pharma products is tedious process leading to delays. So with the latest move, we may not anticipate any further delays or impacts as far as the costing goes, and therefore we can vouch on realizing the export potential of Indian pharma. Done? Okay. Next article. Israel expands operations in overcrowded Rafah. I think you must all be knowing what is happening in the southern city of Gaza, right? Rafah is the last stronghold, or I should say the main important city in Palestine. And we have discussed this article, right? Haven't we discussed about the Iran and Israel? Haven't we discussed here? Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll share one of my previous current affairs material with the management, in which I've given detail about the context of what is happening between Israel and Hamas, and also the relationship between Iran and Israel, because we have also seen some conflict between Iran and Israel when Israel attacked the Damascus Iranian embassy, and that led to the death of many officials, and Iran retaliated by firing rockets and all, right? So that detail has been given in another article which you will get from the management. Please try to get it after the class. But now, as of now, you must be knowing that I think October 7th, when the Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, attacked Israel and abducted more than 250 people, leading to the death of more than 1,000. As a retaliation, Israel started complete offensive against this region. And you must be knowing that West Bank and Gaza is the Palestinian stronghold. Palestinians are like they are the Muslims, and Israelis are like Jewish people. So in simple terms, I should say that Hamas is a terrorist organization, and which the Israel has vowed to completely uproot it from the face of Gaza. They said that enough is enough. We cannot let any terrorist organization to completely come to our nation, threaten our sovereignty, take my citizens as hostage. I'm going to completely uproot. And it is not listening to any countries. Egypt, Qatar, and USA are trying to mediate, trying to bring about a ceasefire, because it has been happening for over 7 months. And Israel is not budging to it. Despite USA is also completely stopping their consignment of bombs which are supposed to be sent to Israel, and they're saying that our bombs, our weapons are actually used to fight an offensive against this Gaza region. And as a result of such offensive, more than 35,000 people have lost their lives, mostly civilians. Israel has their own defense. They say that even these terrorist organizations are using civilians as a what should I say, as a human shield to protect themselves, but they are continuing their offense. And the population there has been almost like 1.4 million Palestinians. So such sort of an offensive will lead to what can I say, like civilian casualties, and which is not good in terms of international politics. And they are not listening to anyone. That is the only thing. This news is not about. Probably I thought that you had an account of whatever is happening around the world, right? So make sure that after today's class, go back to home, know everything about Hamas, Israel, and like starting from 1948, the coming up of Israel. Israel has been fighting wars from 1948 to 2006, and please know everything, the chronology, and what is the present status, right? What is important is that the impact of such war on India is most important, because Israel has been a traditional partner of India. From Israel, we have taken AVAX. It is like we have taken the radar systems, and many defense equipments are actually been exported from or imported from Israel. Israel is a traditional partner, and even Iran is also a good partner of India. Why? Because we are developing the Chabahar port in Iran, and because Pakistan is not a very good neighbor, bypassing Pakistan, we are having access to the Afghanistan, right? Zaranj, Dalaram Road, and access to Central Asia. So Iran is also important for us, and Israel is also important for us. In that aspect, the conflict and its impact on India is most important, right? So Israel expanded operation in the overcrowded Rafah. You need to know that how many people are there as of now. The population is 1.4 million population are there in that southern region. Otherwise, they are carried on offensive throughout the entire part of Gaza, which is a small stretch. There was a question which was asked a couple of years ago, stating that which among the following countries border the Mediterranean Sea. We had this Jordan, Lebanon, Israel. That sort of questions, which may not be direct. Now the conflict is happening, right? There may be a question about Sinai Peninsula, because near that Sinai Peninsula only, or near the Egyptian border only, we have this Rafah city, where that opening was there, where the people who were going out of, like, more than 3 lakh people actually left this place. So that has been closed. So now the people don't have any place to escape, and the Israelis completely on the offensive. So it creates a humanitarian crisis also, and the world which wants to actually give the humanitarian assistance, like in terms of food, medicines, are crippled a lot. So Israel is actually facing the heat of world, right? So I think only after going through those articles only this makes sense. Okay, so how many population is there? 1.4 million Palestinians are actually sheltered there in the Rafah, which is the southernmost city, and the border near the main aid entry. So where the international aid was coming in terms of medicines or food or anything was actually stopped, right? So now they are crossing and forcing it to shut down. Israel defies the request of mediators like Egypt, UAE, and USA. US is also asking them to, like, tone down, but they are not actually listening to anyone. So United Nations also made that a full-scale invasion would cripple the humanitarian operations and cause a disastrous surge of civilian casualties. USA also slams Israel for using American weapons. So they were supposed to send 3,500 bombs. They have actually, the Secretary of State, right, Anthony, have actually stopped it, right? Israel have reasonably used US weapons consistent with the international humanitarian law. This question will come in next year, probably, means in terms of how a country should deal when it is been attacked by a terrorist organization. We have seen how US reacted after 9/11. Yes, the same similar way, Israel is also reacting this way. But is it correct? Just because your nation's sovereignty has been affected doesn't give you the right to kill innocent civilians just because you're trying to target the terrorist, and you cannot call the civilians as the collateral damage, because large number of deaths are going to happen with respect to these innocent citizens only. How can you deal with such a situation? Because ultimately, if tomorrow a couple of you can also get into this foreign service, so you'll be posed with this question: how can you deal this situation? So having an account of this is very much important. Okay, so next, the relation between the two have slumped over after the US president said that he would halt all the offensive arms delivery. Now US is not supplying any sort of arms. USA was a supporter of Israel. Israel said that we are defending our country's sovereignty. We want to fight against the terrorists. Therefore, they supplied. Now, enough. US is not supplying. Right? So Israel responds. What does Israel say? Whatever the acts I'm taking, is it actually in compliance with the laws of armed conflict? My nation is actually in a full-fledged war. So I'm taking all necessary actions to make sure that in an armed conflict, what military state has to do, I'm taking all the necessary action. That is their response. And the extensive measures toward the civilian casualties have been reduced because we are alerting the civilians. Before attacking, we are alerting the civilians by sending SNS. Please evacuate, otherwise you'll be bombed. That is what the reason, that is what the explanation they're giving. See, towards civilian casualty, like alerting people to military operations via phone calls and text messages. If they have place, they can go now. If they don't have place, where will they go? And what will I do with a phone call or a text message? You send me a text message and immediately bomb is gone. This needs to be rethink completely, right? So next, a simple article with respect to, I think, effect of El Nino. See, whenever El Nino happens, where the regions which are not getting rainfall, like we have seen that in Dubai, UAE, huge floods, huge floods. Afghanistan also actually have been facing with the huge amount of floods. You need to know impact of El Nino on different parts of the world. On India, droughts. Where droughts are going to happen, where huge amount of rainfall on the floods are going to happen, you need to have an account of that, right? Simple as that. We have this as per the United Nations Food Agency. So that is World Food Program have said the flash floods have killed more than 300 people in Afghanistan. What is exciting about this is the new information is given by not by the media or official media of Afghanistan. It is given by the United Nations Food Agency, that is the World Food Program, and this many number of people have died. And who has come to the assistance of Afghanistan? Because Afghanistan is ruled by Taliban, which is not a government. But there, the humanitarian assistance is provided by the United Nations and who are involved in distributing food packets, medicines, and water for the people who are stranded in the floods, right? So distributing the fortified biscuits. What is fortified biscuits? Nutrient fortified. We have heard of about this multigrain biscuits. The fortified means they have necessary nutritions. They may be small in content, but it is going to provide sufficient nutrition to sustain the people who are actually stuck in the floods. Okay, so this is one among the many floods. I mean, Afghanistan is actually witnessing so many floods, and which are the regions which are affected? The Herat, Baglan, Badakhshan, Gore. That's it. Not much important. Panama migration updates. So Panama, you know what is Panama? Is a region which is going connecting North America with South America, right? And it's an isthmus. See, we have two land body and there is a narrow water body which separates the two land body. For example, India and Sri Lanka. What is that called as? Strait. Obviously, you're correct. It is called a strait and obviously Park Strait. So strait is a narrow water body separates two landmass. Strait of Gibraltar, Park Strait, right? Then Bab el Mandeb, Hormuz, Malacca. So many straits are there. Ulta. Two water bodies, narrow strip of land. For example, we have this Suez. Suez Canal is between, see, the canal is constructed, okay, fine, it's maybe water body, but the land is there between, or I should say, rather than Suez, Panama. It connects Pacific Ocean with Atlantic Ocean. Otherwise, they have to see if this is Atlantic Ocean. You're supposed to go this way. You have to travel almost like 12,000 kilometers. It is better to cut across one small land, create a narrow water body where the ships can easily transit. That is called as isthmus. Isthmus is a narrow strip of land connecting two bigger water bodies, right? Here, people used this Panama corridor to move from South America to North America. Are you able to understand? But of late, this region have witnessed the movement of criminal activities or Colombian organized crime. People have actually using this transit route to move into America. So this region has been closed. That is the news, right? Panama Prime Minister said that the migrant route, right, in the recent use is actually made use of what? Organized crime in Colombia, right? That, for example, if you talk about Nepal and India does not have any borders. Fenced borders are not there. Nepal and India does not have a fenced borders. And this porous borders, we don't need a passport to go into Nepal, or the people from Nepal can easily come to India, and we're using the same currency, rupee. So Pakistan used this route, porous boundaries, to route in the fake Indian currency notes into India, and movement of terrorists also. So certain boundaries, certain crossings, though it is facilitating good, or let's say actually creating large amount of good to the people, but it is also comes with inherent problems like movement of terrorist or criminal activities. Now, this SMS is used by the criminals in the South American region to pass through the North American region, right? And carrying on the any illegal activities. So that is why it has been closed. That's it. Why the news? Because you should know about which region, Panama, and that's an isthmus. Okay. So Mexico is under pressure from the US government imposed because it is actually imposing what? Visa restrictions on various nationalities, like for example, Venezuela and Peru, which is there in South America. From there, they're coming. And you have seen that many people from Mexico crossing borders and going into US. They're not having any valid documents. And this sort of refugees are huge. And during the 1971 Liberation War, Bangladesh Liberation War, how many refugees we had? How many refugees we had? Huh? How many? 5 million refugees. I mean, more than 5 lakh refugees have come into India because of whatever the offensive they carried on in the Bangladesh region. That was a huge crisis. And Indira Gandhi said that it is better to go for a war rather than maintain this number of refugees. Haven't seen the movie? Sam Bahadur? Watch. Really good. And some movies are really good from the education purpose point of view. And good acting also. Have not seen that, but I've seen glimpses which are really good. So next article. See, we are talking about, have you heard of this VVP scheme? Vibrant Village Program? Have you heard of Vibrant Village Program? Okay, take a note of it. Vibrant Village. See, the objective says the Vibrant Village Program is mainly focused at the developing of border villages, especially which regions? Where the international borders, India is sharing international borders are there. In those regions, what are the villages are there? The Vibrant Village Program is aimed at empowering that, bringing the various amenities to these villages. That is Vibrant Village Program. But it is related to the villages which are only situated in the border regions. So Vibrant Village Program does not mean that empowering the villages with all the basic amenities like drinking water or housing, blah blah blah. No. Vibrant Village means there are so many villages in the border regions which are not connected with the basic roads. So those roads, those villages in the border areas should be connected with the roads, necessary roads, and necessary infrastructure developments has to happen so that the border villages thrive. And many times what happens, people who are living in these border villages actually vacate because they feel that any offense is going to happen or we may be caught in between the crossfiring and all. One of the objectives is to also ensure that people in the border areas are important because they actually act as an intel in the border. Yes or no? So they are going to provide intelligence, second, and they are crucial because we would stop migration of these villages from that region to other regions. So instead of one complete village getting evacuated, we need to ensure that they stay in their place only. Whatever the facilities you are lacking, because usually in the border areas that much of importance is not given to these border villages because they are somewhere between caught in between the crossfire, right? And people would not pay much attention. So the Vibrant Village Program is mainly aimed at the border villages. Okay, and there the recent data shows that the amount of investment which is made, obviously talking about the line of actual control. So we have two things, line of control and line of actual control. Line of control is between India and Pakistan. What is line of control? Line of control is the boundary which is between India occupied Kashmir. They say India occupied Kashmir and the POK. That is line of control, LOC. It is India and Pakistan. Line of actual control, that is as per the 1962 agreement, right? Line of actual control means after this Indo-China war, whatever the line through till which where the Chinese have actually entered India, that control between India and China is called as LAC, right? Now this Vibrant Village Program is mainly focused on those states bordering India and China, or I should say the Tibetan part of China, right? So talking about Uttarakhand, which are the states? Uttarakhand, right? Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. Himachal Pradesh is not there. Himachal Pradesh, Ladakh is not there. Only Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh, right? So there, whatever the cost, because obviously we are developing what villages. We are developing what? We are developing villages. We are providing connectivity, and it is actually coming at a cost for 1 kilometer, 2 crore rupees. Because this is the hilly terrain, right? It's tough to construct a road. Also, it might also involve digging a tunnel or something like maybe a bridge. So the cost of construction is around 2 crore per kilometer. That is not important. This is important. What is important? Vibrant village program, right? First one. So road constructed on the China border. So vibrant village program is actually concentrated in which region? LOC region or LAC region? LAC region. Which states? Uttarakhand, Sikkim, and Arunachal Pradesh, right? So and under the vibrant village, how many roads have been sanctioned by the Home Ministry? The Home Ministry, see, usually we have this BRO, Border Road Organization. Border Road Organization is the organization which is actually focused on constructing the border roads, but this is different. Have that clarification. Okay, so Home Ministry sanctioned how many roads? 113 roads under the VVP in the last 5 months. Objective, see the objective of this program, talking about the objective of VVP. One is improve connectivity in the areas across along the border. Yes or no? So VVP or the Vibrant Village program is aimed at providing basic amenities to the villages in the rain shadow region. Correct statement? No. It is aimed at developing the villages in the, especially across the border. Second, aimed at strengthening the security grid on the line of actual control. See, security is also important. How can we ensure the security? Provide good connectivity, good facilities, and make them as your spies, as your intel. Yes or no? Ultimately, when anything happens, for that swift movement of for the military equipments and the military personnel, good roads are required, right? So, connectivity, and second, strengthening the security grid on the lines of actual control, right? Third, so how many roads are constructed? Highest in Arunachal Pradesh. How many? 105. Next, Uttarakhand 5, Sikkim 3. At least 168 villages still waiting connectivity, right? Okay, but it is going to happen phase wise. It is going to happen what? Phase wise. So Pittorgarh district in Uttarakhand, example for 43 kilometers costed around 119 crores. So it would come around almost like 1 kilometer means 2 crore rupees, which is, see, obviously we cannot go everything with the fiscal prudence. 1 kilometer, how is it going to cost 2 crore? But what is its strategic importance? That you need to understand, right? If someone says an argument that why bullet train is required to India, you're not only looking at why do you think the bullet train is required? Do we really need bullet train? Why? Because narrow perspective people will think that it is a cost waste of money because too much of investment is done. Understand one thing: if a 6-hour journey is covered in probably like 1.5 2 hours, how much of time is saved? And it's not about that. You're connecting that 2-hour time is with this region which is separated from almost like 150 200 kilometers. You're expanding the urban areas. Because why? Because you're reducing the connectivity, your time of commute. So that means it is a method of expanding urbanization. While, for example, linking Bengaluru and Mysore. Why do we have this Bengaluru-Mysore Express corridor? Industries are going to grow. Infrastructure is going to grow. Why? Because good connectivity always comes with good. That is going to happen. People don't know about it, right? Right? Okay, next, role of the state governments. Now, this is what the objective. In that, this is definitely a central scheme. Yes or no? And in that, what is the role of a state government? State government do also have a role. They have to monitor the activities. What activities? Road construction activities. How? By installing the GPS-enabled vehicle tracking devices. See? So the GPS tracking devices are to be installed by the state government, right? And they have to overview the working of this program. Next, they should also ensure installation of the GPS system in key machinery and equipment engaged in the execution of the road works. Done? This is the news. I will talk about what is this VVP. VVP is a centrally sponsored scheme. First point, what is VVP? What is the name of VVP? Vibrant Village Program. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. See, understand. Assignment. You need to know what is a flagship program, what is a mission mode program, what is a centrally sponsored scheme or a central aided scheme. Are you able to understand? Central aided scheme means the state is also investing, like for example 60-40 ratio. Center 60-40, state 90-10. Center is sponsored 100%. Flagship, like for example we have this Manrega flagship program. One program applicable for every Swachh Bharat flagship. Mission mode, particularly to one particular region or for a particular purpose, after which it has been discontinued. Are you able to understand? Can you make a note of it? So difference between a mission mode, difference between flagship programs, mission mode programs, centrally sponsored schemes, okay, centrally aided schemes, aided. Okay, coming back. So Vibrant Village Program, is it centrally aided or centrally sponsored? Centrally sponsored scheme, right? What is the objective? Improving the we've discussed about the rural connectivity. Second, improving the security. Third, even their lives. This is how they're going to ask question in UPSC prelims. Statement, right? Third statement is the Vibrant Village Program also is aimed at improving the quality of life of the people living in the identified border villages. Yes, even their life quality is also improved, providing them with the livelihood opportunities or better connectivity. Yes or no? Yes or no? Right, okay. So Himachal Pradesh, so all the states. So Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim and Ladakh is all involved, but the construction is happening with the three states. Himachal and Ladakh, it's not happening, right? Okay. So how many villages are there? 2,967 villages are to be covered in 46 border blocks of 19 districts in 4 states and UT. So Vibrant Village Action Plan will be executed by, so who is the execution agency? That is district administration with the help of Gram Panchayats. So Gram Panchayats are also involved in preparing plan, and it is submitted to the program. Later on, the central government is going to say ultimately this district administration under you people, like for example IAS officers, are going to carry on this, like the DC of Jaisalmer, right? Okay. So the program will be see, as I said, we have this border development program is happening, which is like parallel program, which is aimed at developing of the border areas and roads, border highways. That is not going to overlap. This VVP is not going to overlap the BPDP. Okay. So they also aimed at stopping migration. What is the objective? Development done, but the larger objective is to stop migration of the people from the border regions to other part of the India, and also to motivate them to continue and stay there and gather intelligence for the India. Why? Because people staying in border regions might gather some sort of intelligence, maybe about the troop movement, maybe the construction of bunkers. They can provide information, right? Yes or no? So also identify and develop economic drivers based on local, natural, human and other resources, because one of the objectives is to improve the livelihood or the well-being of the people in the border areas. How can you do that? Identify certain economic or opportunities, maybe availability of natural resources, and make sure that the people in that region get benefit from that. Suppose if you have natural resources, mining, probably we have a industry setup. Done? Okay, fine. So promotion of local cultural, apart from that, see, even their local cultural tradition, knowledge and heritage is also supported. Maybe I should say that promoting tourism in the border areas is also part of VVP. Yes or no? That is what they're saying. Identify avenues where the economic growth can be happening. Security, stopping migration, right? And well-being of the village people, and promotion of tourism. Done? These are wider concepts. So development of next sustainable eco. See, development of sustainable eco agri businesses on the concept of one village, one product. We have this GA indicator. GA indicator means that particular region is famous for particular thing. For example, Mysore Pak, right? Banaras saris, or Tirupati laddus, or like Gajjak, or we have so many things are there. So in that concept, we are going to make sure that the we're going to make a particular village in the border areas, it is famous for something, we can make it as an agri-business center by promoting one village, one product, right? Through community-based organization. See, these are the very discrete thing which we will actually not focus. So even the community-led participation is also there, and involving NGOs are also there. Ultimately, these NGOs and these communities or the civil society organization is going to be involved, making that village as an agri-business center. Government is going to support, but other players are going to come and operate there. Done. So next, 68% of the total villages will be covered in the phase 1 in Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh 35 villages, Himachal 75. So highest is there in Arunachal Pradesh. Okay. Next is Himachal Pradesh, third Ladakh, Sikkim, and Uttarakhand. Done. So this is an answer to China is doing the same thing. So India's Vibrant Village program. What is the Chinese counterpart of India's Vibrant Village program? In fact, I should say that China has done something and India is following the same thing. In 2022, China is also doing the same. They are expanding the chain of model villages. What is that called as? Zhokhang. And what does that mean? Moderately prosperous villages close to the line of actual control opposite these states. So they are doing the same thing. They are trying to develop the villages in the border areas. Indian counterpart of that Zhokhang is Vibrant Village program. Done. We always have our international politics happens like that only. Next, rat hole mining. Heard of this? Rat hole mining? Rat hole mining, usually northeastern states, Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, they have coal seams, right? But their huge mines, like for example in Assam we have mines, and we have also fossil fuel, like we have this Digboy field is there. But there small tunnels are dug. First of all, the top layer of the sand and the rocks are removed, and small tunnels are dug where the people will go. Tunnel which can fit 1 or 2 people person, right? And they'll go deep using very traditional method, digging that using sticks or something like that, and get the coal out of it. So it is like human intensive. But problem is that it is also prone to disasters. Many people have died because it can lead to flooding, or maybe the top surface is going to collapse, and many people have died. One thing, it is dangerous to the human health. Second, it is environmentally detrimental. So environmentally, it is going to cause a lot of problem, because ultimately there is something as that acid part is there in the coal. It is released in the environment. It is going to cause environmental degradation. So the Meghalaya High Court has appointed a prison. Manipur is saying that these are one of the main source of livelihood, so please don't ban the rat hole mining. Meghalaya High Court has actually come up with a panel citing that what are the effects of this rat hole mining, what needs to be done. Simple article, you'll be able to understand, right? So panel flags poor progress in reversing the coal mining damage in Meghalaya. So coal mining is happening through rat hole mining, not like the elaborate or the well industrialized mining what is happening in other parts of India, right? Like Koraput or like Kenjuhar, Odisha, Jharkhand. That sort of mining is not happening. In northeastern it is rat hole mining. Done? Okay. So which state has appointed a one-member panel to assess whether the Meghalaya coal mining has to be reversed or not? That is Meghalaya, right? So Justice Brojendra Prasad Katke recommend measures to the Meghalayan government in compliance with the Supreme Court has actually issued. So guidelines given by the Supreme Court that you need to stop rat hole mining. What are the actions you have taken? Please submit a report to me and what needs to be done. Okay. So as a result, as a response to that Supreme Court direction, the state government has appointed this panel, right? And Supreme Court and NGT banning the hazardous rat hole coal mining in the April 2014. So 2014 was banned, Supreme Court. So as a follow-up, still we are setting up the panel as of now, right? So what is rat hole mining? These are something which might come in the prelims because it's a new term. See, what is rat hole mining? Digging narrow small tunnels large enough for a person to crawl into to extract the coal. So obviously you can't go to only 10-20 feet. You won't get coal. You have to go much deeper. They are the narrow pits dug into the ground and using very simple crude equipments, and you also using what, bamboo ladders or ropes to get down, right, and extract the coal using primitive tools like pickaxes, shovels and baskets. So you are using baskets to carry the coal. You have to go deeper, very primitive, and at the same time very dangerous also. But issues and concerns, first and foremost, it poses a significant threat environment point of view. It is a very significant threat to the environment safe because mines are unregulated, and you know that when these coal mines are actually, there may be a possible methane or like coal gas ejection is going to happen, right, lacking necessary safety measures like safety gear is not there, structural support is not there, poor ventilation for the workers, right, and leads to acidification of rivers because this coal seams are going to have methane and other sort of, right, carbon rich compounds, which lead to what, river acidification, land degradation, deforestation and water pollution. And the concern is that AMD, that is acid mine drainage. So this coal mines will have harmful acids which is going to drain into the water bodies, and from this the water body as well as the humans who are working both will be affected, right. So this degrades the water quality, reduces the biodiversity of water body, and it is particularly harmful. So therefore the NGT, what is NGT? What is NGT? National Green Tribunal. Tribunal is having, it's a judicial authority, right? Environment Judicial Authority, which can impose. See, we have, make a note of all those quasi judicial authorities. We have complete judicial authorities are courts, but we have quasi judicial authority. For example, National Commission for SC/ST. For a time being, you can act as a court, as a civil court, but that means you can enforce, you can issue summons, you can issue warrant and enforce someone's presence, and you can also prescribe punishment. NGT have that power. They can also prescribe punishment. Yes or no? Right? CPCB is going to give, it's a difference between NGT and CPCB. Try to know. Standards are prescribed by CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board. Enforcement of that standards is not done or not is checked by the NGT, right? Okay. So several accidents have also resulted. Say in 2018, 15 men were trapped. Only 2 bodies were recovered. 2021, 5 miners were actually trapped. Only 3 bodies were recovered. And also, that is why it is very dangerous for environment and humans. So therefore, this has to be banned. This was banned by the NGT, and now the news is there in the newspaper that what is going to be the recommendation of the panel, right? But who is opposing this? Manipur is saying that this is my only source of revenue. So therefore, don't ban the rat hole mining. Manipur is saying that. Meghalaya has actually appointed a panel. So observation of the panel. Now this is the news. This is the news which is there in the newspaper. This was like additional information. One is, there is lack of progress in the restoring the environmental damage done by the rat hole mining. You already dug the tunnel. It is already exposed. What is the progress? That is the objective why this panel was actually appointed. And the panel says that, observation of the panel is that there is not much of improvement for reversing the effects done by the mining. Point number 1. Right? Next, there is a fund which is aimed at restoring the mines which are already used. For example, rat hole mining was done. And there is a fund which is called as Meghalaya Environment Protection and Restoration Fund. What is the name of the fund? Environment Protection and Restoration Fund of Meghalaya, which is underutilized for restoring the ecosystem which is damaged by the rat hole mining. Second observation. Third, in the interim report said that necessary steps need to be taken by the department for restoring mining affected, right? And this is affecting the ecology of Meghalaya. Meghalaya is, you know that Meghalaya is one of the rich biodiverse regions of India. We have only 3 biodiversity hotspots in India. Do you know that? Western Ghats, Andaman and Nicobar. Third, Eastern Himalayas involves Meghalaya. And Meghalaya is the region which are receiving regions having large amount of rainfall. Heard of Cherrapunji, Mawsynram? Cherrapunji, Mawsynram, biodiversity rich region. So therefore, conserving the biodiversity hotspots is very much important. Okay. So next, the corpus amount, how much? Because we already have the amount. Use that amount with a tune of 400 crores from this and 100 crores from that to restore. It is one of the suggestions given by the panel. Okay. And people around the mine also suffer from what? AMD. Don't forget, acid mine drainage. So acid mine drainage is affecting people and it is also affecting the water bodies and ecosystem. Yes or no? If suppose a question comes in prelims, acid mine drainage is related to which among the following? Coal mining, copper mining, right? Or like probably like uranium mining, or aluminum mining, or bauxite mining. Coal mining, right? Simple as that. So auditing the source of coal used in the coke oven, ferroalloy. So auditing is required. That is what they're saying, right? Next. So another article related to coal mining. This is a very funny incident. Lok Sabha elections are happening, and there is one Birbhum Lok Sabha constituency, and it is a prestigious project for West Bengal government because this is the largest ever coal mine ever to be developed in India. It is having large amount of coal reserves, and but the people who are staying in the 12 villages don't want to vacate that. And one of the election manifesto given by the present government is that anyone who is wanted, people who are staying in these villages are given free homes. One person is going to get police constable job. So many, and that is a part of your election manifesto. Ultimately, wanting to the people, motivating the people to vacate this place, right? So, what is the news about? Where is this place? Because why? Because it's a part of your economic geography. It's a part of your environment also. What is the name of the coal? What is the name of the coal mine? Diocha Pachami coal mine. So Diocha Pachami coal mine is in which state? West Bengal. So what is that? 35,000 crore project. It is the largest crore project, and protest from the people over the land acquisition. But the government says that it's not going to be forceful. It is going to be voluntary. So therefore, they are inducing that multigrain biscuit. Right. So which Lok Sabha constituency? Birbhum is considered to be the largest in the country. That is what it's important. This coal mine is considered to be the largest in the country. How much of reserves? 198 million tons of coals. So what is the reserve capacity? 1,198 million tons of coal reserves with 1,400 cubic meters of basalt. So huge amount of coal seams are there and spread across 12.31 square kilometer, not kilometers, square kilometers, around 3,400 acres. How many villages fall under this? These are important statistics. Ultimately, suppose if any question is asked to you in front of the interview board or the PT, you should be having sufficient data to say that. So there is one Diochi Pachmi coal mine, which is one of the prestigious thing, and this is what is happening in that state. The government has offered this to the people, and there is no forceful evacuation. But given the potential, they may ask you, the mine is having this much of potential in India. India is an energy deficient country, and 70% of our energy is actually produced from thermal power plants. Coal is a very important input. So don't you think that only 12 villages are there? We ultimately talk about, what is that? Utilitarianism, right? Huh? Utilitarianism. I mean, only small sacrifice can be done for the larger good. Deontology. ಅದೇ ಪೈಲಿದ್ ನಾನು. Right? So how many villages are there? 12 villages are there, and population 21,000, mostly comprising of the scheduled tribes and scheduled caste. So Chief Minister assured that there won't be any forcible land acquisition, but the latest party handbill. See, this is what is interesting. What does it say? It says that Pakka houses for the people will be given after the victory, right? Villages are not interested. Project has turned out to be a major prestige issue with Bengal government. So apart from that, the state has also established a revised relief rehabilitation. Means those who are interested to give their land will be given a relief. So what is relief means? We are going to give 13 lakh rupees per biga. Second, Pakka houses. Third, government jobs. Suitable thing, alva? People, very good. I mean, the offer is not bad. but not at the cost of environment, right? So willing to give up land, promising the double the market value of 100% solution. How much? 13 lakh rupees per biga. So one member, apart from that, so one is 13 lakh rupees. Second is Pakka houses. Third, one member would be provided a job as a junior police constable and build-up area of an individual houses would be provided to all the families. So this is what is saying. But what are the villagers are saying? Villagers say that, see, whatever the activities should be done, it should be done under the panchayat. So Gram Sabha should be the authority to take up decision whether the land has to be given to the mining or not. First point, understood? Second, about 43% of the population inhabiting are falling under the, right? So obviously it is going to displace this number of people, and already the stone quarrying is done and people are suffering from silicosis and black lung disease. See, black lung disease is actually a disease where the lungs of the miners who are working in the coal mines, right? So they're usually black, okay, because of the inhaling of the coal dust. And silicosis is also a sort of disease which is actually experienced because of the inhaling of dust, usually associated with the coal mines. You need to know which are the diseases, okay? So they're saying that already people who are suffering from illness like pollution is there, and also silicosis is affecting the people of this region. Done? Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. You need to know what is the name of the mine, where is it located, right? And its potential, geographical potential. Next, Iran Chabahar. I told you, right? Iran, India signed a very important article. This is very much important. So we'll finish off this one article. It's really good, important for you. Really important for you. I wish I had the diagram to show. Quickly, I won't take much time, okay? So again, 10-year agreement was renewed between India and Iran for the operation of Chabahar. For your information, Chabahar port is a port which is there opening in the Arabian Sea, right? It is there in Iran, and it is only 170 kilometers from the Gwadar port, which is developed by China. Gwadar port is in Pakistan. Chabahar port is in Iran. Now, there was a contentious program known as the pipeline, IPI pipeline, Iran, Pakistan, India. India agreed for a pipeline constructed from Iran to India, passing through Pakistan, and Pakistan, it's a very good neighbor, doesn't withstand the growth of India. They did not agree. So therefore, we need to bypass Pakistan. So our Kandla port or the Mumbai, Nhava Sheva is very close to this Chabahar port, and it is only 768 nautical miles, right? So we can get access to mineral-rich regions of Afghanistan and also Central Asia. And it is also part of North-South corridor. North-South industrial corridor is there. So by removing Pakistan from the map now, this sort of development or the agreement between these countries is very much important, because India is an energy deficient country and we need access to not only Iran. From this Chabahar port, we have a road connectivity to Zaranj. Zaranj in the border of Afghanistan. From Zaranj to Dilaram, we have a road construction. India has constructed that. And we also constructed the parliament. From there, Central Asia, and ultimately to Russia. Like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, from this region, from Chabahar port, we can get access to the Central Asia and also Russia. So this is a very important strategic tie, and India is renewing that agreement, okay? So the agreement is renewed for almost how many years? 10 more years. Okay, now, so 2 decades after the project was proposed during the regime of Mr. Vajpayee. So 8 years after concluding the General Information Framework and long-term planning between which case? So it is between IPGL, that is Indian Ports Global Limited. Indian Ports Global Limited, IPGL, and the Port and Maritime Organization, PM of Iran. This sort of information might be important to you, or maybe when you're writing mains answer or specifically addressing the panel members, it will be better that you talk about which agencies which are involved in port development. So Chabahar is a port. So obviously Port Development Authority is there. Yes or no? It's not Port Trust of India. PTA is not there. It is Indian Ports Global Limited and the Port and Maritime Organization, right? So for the operation of this terminal, which is a new terminal, that is Shahid Behesti Terminal. Which is a terminal? Shahid Behesti Terminal. We have different terminals. in bus stand ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಬಹಳ ಟರ್ಮಿನಲ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, in the airport also, domestic terminal, international terminal, right? So this terminal has been opened for operation, and another terminal is also there which is existing from 1980s, that is Shahid Kalantari, right? So how much it's going, IPGL is going to invest? IPGL, see, India's investment in Iran, India's investment in Iran in the port development, that is by the IPGL, how much? $160 million, right? So equipping what? Port. So apart from that, credit for what? We are providing soft loans. See, we are providing to the soft loans to the PMO also. So one is, we are investment is also there from the IPGL, right? Then we have soft loans of $250 million, and an MOU for also developed for a written for the, what is MOU? Memorandum of Understanding for Development of Chabahar Port was signed in May 2015. So from then we are continuing. So 10 more years we are actually reviewing, and the contract was executed on May 23rd, 2016. So what is important about this agreement? It is going to facilitate, from here the main topic is going to come, trade. Definitely for the trade purpose, most importantly, oil. See, Iran was the second largest exporter of oil to India before the US imposed sanctions, right? Iran is a very good partner of India. So we just want to renew that, okay? Now, because of the sanctions, we will not be able to buy that much of oil from the Iran, but we need to have some sort of a backup, right? Suppose the sanctions are lifted, we should have a necessary infrastructure at port. So maritime cooperation, because Iran and, see, Indian Coast Guards or Indian Navy is actually providing escort to the ships which are transiting through the Red Sea. Yes, sir, because too much of piracy is there, right? So Indian ships are actually providing support and security, right? So, and transshipment, while boosting trilateral trade between India, Iran and Afghanistan. So it's a trilateral tripartite agreement between India, Afghanistan and Iran, no Pakistan, right? So India's continued investment in Chabahar will improve our efficiency and enhance capabilities, solidifying India's commitment to the region's economic development. So India is contributing to the economic development of that region, because we are setting up of infrastructure, we are developing a port. So obviously employment opportunities, region is going to grow well, right? Next, India has also used the port for humanitarian assistance, especially to whom? Afghanistan. From Chabahar going through Afghanistan, right? Along with the trade, reaffirming its commitment to support regional. So not just trade, not just regional development, but also humanitarian assistance. Done? Right. So Chabahar is a vital trade artery connecting India and Afghanistan and Central Asian countries. So we have this, if you can imagine, this is India, right? And here we have this connectivity to Afghanistan, and here we have like Iran. So this is Gwadar, this is Chabahar. So from Kandla it is very close, and from Nhava Sheva or Mumbai it is very close, right? So we can use this. This is the Chabahar port. From this Chabahar we have one route going to Afghanistan. This is Afghanistan, this is Zaranj. So from Zaranj again to Dilaram. So this is Afghanistan. So we can get access to the mineral rich regions of Afghanistan through Chabahar to Zaranj. Done? That is why this thing is very much important. This connectivity, this agreement is very much important for India, right? So talking about again the historical back. So this is a deep water port located in which region of the Iran? Sistan Baluchistan province. So Sistan Baluchistan, like for example, Kandla is in Gujarat. So where is Chabahar? Sistan Baluchistan. So historical background, Chabahar means what? It's a Persian word, means forespring by Al-Biruni, 10th century, right? So next. So despite the project, ultimately it was started in 2003, but it was stopped because Iran was actually developing uranium. It was undertaking the uranium enrichment, and the P5+1 countries, like nuclear countries, tried to impose sanctions. So Iran and these countries tried to reach an agreement saying that these countries tried to impose sanctions on Iran. So Iran compromised, say that we will not going to take up this enrichment program. So please remove the sanctions. So an agreement was reached between this P5+1 nations and Iran, where the Iran would stop enrichment and the trade started resuming. At that point of time, Trump government gave a concession for India, not the Biden government, the Trump government, right? Despite the sanction, you could continue the trade. So that was a context where in 2015, after when this agreement was reached, the trade was open between Iran and India also. So which are the P5 nations? UK, France, China, Germany, Russia and US reached a deal to limit the Iranian nuclear program, and as an exchange, trade was usually carried on. Okay, so in 16, tripartite deal with India, Iran and Afghanistan was actually done to build a transport and trade corridor, where from Chabahar to Zaranj, Dalaram. So Mr. Modi was the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Iran in 15 years. And how much is the investment potential to the project? $500 billion, right? So in the later, yeah. So after that, 2017, USA pulled out of the agreement. So within 1 year, USA pulled out of the agreement, right? But India was given a special concession, right? Because Trump government gave separate sanctions and separate permission for India despite the sanctions. So the sanctions were for the other countries, but for India, some liberty was given thanks to the diplomacy of India and the US at that point of time. So exempted India from sanctions as per the port was considered critical due to easy access to Afghanistan. So in 18, IPGL took over minor operations on the port like handling container traffic following a short-term agreement. Now, Chabahar port has handled more than 90,000 vessels carrying cargo of more than 8.4 million tons. So India alone has supplied how much? Apart from that, humanitarian assistance. So what is the humanitarian assistance? How much of food products we have actually sent to Afghanistan? 2.5 million tons of wheat and 2,000 tons of pulses are sent to Afghanistan through the Chabahar port. Done. So therefore, the Chabahar port is very much important strategically. This question was asked in mains. So therefore, I'm just trying to answer this. If you want, I can continue. Otherwise, we'll stop it. Last part, why Chabahar is important strategically. Right? Shall we continue? It is located on the Makrana coast of Iran. One is Makrana. The coast is called as Makrana coast. Like we have Coromandel coast, Malabar coast, Sistan Balochistan province, Makrana coast. Right? And it is next to the Gulf of Oman and next to the mouth of Strait of Hormuz, which is the 90% of the world's global fuel passes through this Strait of Hormuz and Gulf of Oman. It is very close to that one. Second, it acts as a global golden gateway to the countries in the Indian Ocean region to Central Asia. So Central Asia to Indian Ocean is either through Strait of Hormuz or through Chabahar. Very important. Vital shipping route also. Why? Because in between it's like port of call. If a ship is moving from one country to another country, there is some bus stand, like you have a stop, right? So that is called as transshipment. It is providing transshipment facilities also. Vital shipping route linking Middle East with the Asian, Europe and North America. Port is closer to Gujarat, Kandla port, right? And west coast, like for example Mumbai also. Therefore, in case of any emergencies, they are going to act as a Chabahar is going to act as a port of call for India. So Indian nam ships, our ships, we can go and get it fueled. Probably in terms of war, we'll be able to cover Pakistan from other side, right? So Gwadar port is just only 170 kilometers from Chabahar. So Gwadar is developed by China. So India, Chabahar. That's it. So from Chabahar port, right. So the port is more than just a port of call for India and holds both commercial and strategic potential. Commercial means business. Strategic means in case of any wars. This is going to act as a strategic point and provide seamless transit route for Indian goods and products to Afghanistan, avoiding Pakistan. Earlier, Pakistan was a part of IPI, but later on, they backed off, right? So delayed Pakistan, deliberately delayed the transit of goods to Afghanistan through Karachi. Earlier, this was the route. Pakistan never supported. So therefore, we went for the alternative. So from Chabahar port, the road network goes through Zaranj, right? From Zaranj to Dalaram, 218 kilometers, constructed by India's assistance, right? And India is also helping in the assistance of 4 major cities. Which are those? Herat, Kandahar, Kabul, Mazar-e Sharif. Pakistan, Afghanistan Parliament house was actually built by India. Now I don't know why what they're using it for. Right? So once fully operational, sorry sir. Yo, complete ಆಗ್ತಾನಲ್ವ ಇದು? Once I hate this. So once fully operational, the port will give India direct access to resources in the central regions of Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, also ultimately to Russia, right? Importance, and also allows India to cut the time to send goods to Central Asia by third party. Most importantly, it connects the international north-south transport corridor (INSTC). So Iran is a part of North-South Corridor Treaty. That means connecting the European countries with Central Asia and South Asia. Right? Therefore, this is a very important corridor. So this is significant as India has substantially increased its energy trade with sanctions at Russia, because US is imposing sanctions on Russia because of the Ukraine war, and India and China are the only countries who are trading with this Russia. So Russia also requires customers, India, right? So next, India can also monitor the activities. This is most important. Oh. So India can also monitor the activities at Gwadar port, which is very close to India, right? Close to the Chabar, because China is involved, and ultimately the port will help India counterbalance the Chinese footprints in the South Asia across the Belt and Road initiatives. So we have this IMEC, right? Okay. So next we have this port serves as a crucial entry point for human assistance and reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. Now, importance of Chabar port to Iran itself. Iran only have two ports. One is Bandar Abbas and second is Chabar. Ultimately, they don't have that means to operate that. So therefore, India and going and providing them with the sufficient infrastructure and operation abilities, but not capable of hosting larger container vessels. So therefore, it is held by India. And why? Because larger container vessels can be brought in. Okay, the port will also bring development in the Sistan Balochistan region, ultimately which is the least developed province of Iran. So therefore, it is useful. And most importantly, Adani Group is already operating in Haifa port in Israel, so which is very close. Okay, right? And the project will only enhance India's presence in the Strait route. Understood? So we have a strategic position in Israel, Iran, circling the Pakistan. So drawback is USA is not happy. Why? Because again you are trying to renew the agreement between Iran, and we have imposed sanctions on Iran. So USA is not happy. China is also not happy. Pakistan is also not happy. That is a drawback. That's it. Nothing more. So was it useful? Useful itta? So we have this another 2-3 articles are there, which is purely statisticals. Purely statistical, which will be shared to you. Right? If you want, you can continue. Otherwise, we can wind up the class. This is also important article, EPFO, Employees Provident Fund Organizations. So, do you want me to continue the class or shall we wind up? Are you in hell, Rapa? Say something. Shall we wind up? Or you want me to continue? Who antava? Who antava? Unu antilla, hunu antilla. Yenu heltilla ನೀವು. Say something. I understand we have exceeded the time. I won't mind if I can wind up the class. But did you learn something? See, I'll promise one thing. I decided that this material is okay, right? I think compared to what. So I'll be preparing my material. I'll come up with good pictures also. Like for example, the map was required, connecting that. And so from next class onwards, you'll be having much more involvement in flow and all those things, not like the sudden last moment information. Okay, so but I think hopefully you've learned something, and you'll get this notes after the class. I'm going to share it with I think it's already been given to her. Please get it from there. So thank you so much.